Chapter 52. At the same time, on the lawn of a golf club, a man in his 50s with a slightly aged face was holding a golf club with a weird expression on his face. After pondering for a while, Chi Ming, who still could not understand, took out a satellite phone from the bedside, installed the battery, and dialed a number. All right. I owe you a favor and I could go back to report. You can continue pretending. Looking at Chi Ming, who was still acting dumb, Guyu waved his hand, turned around, and walked out of the wooden house. Master, stop fooling me. Are the 5 ghosts you just summoned called ghosts? Do you really think I've never played Battle Online before? I can kill a dozen of these things a day. After the 5 ghosts appeared, Chi Ming bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood. As the successor of the Ghost Luck Path, he had seen the other 2 types of ghosts in the sect's illustrated handbook other than the fire demon mentioned by Guyu. However, what surprised Chi Ming was how an ordinary person like Guyu knew so much about them. These 5 figures were very familiar to Guyu. I'll look for you after I get out of the mountain in a few days. Help me prepare a set. I need it. Chi Ming hung up the phone after he finished speaking. After his grandfather gave birth to his father, he disappeared with an old man in a black robe. It was said that he went to seek the path of immortality, and there was no news of him since then. Just when everyone thought that he had disappeared, he suddenly appeared one day. Virtual projection equipment? Chi Ming was stunned. I don't know what you're talking about. Although he was very confused, Chi Ming still shook his head calmly. Grandpa, why are you so free to call me? A slightly aged voice came from the satellite phone. After Guyu left, Chi Ming was still frowning and thinking hard. Do you know about Battle Online? Chi Ming thought for a while and asked. Master, what class do you play? I've established a guild now. Do you want to help you level up? Hearing this, Chi Ming frowned. You know about the Netherworld Force and the Iron Zombie? Io, stop pretending with me. Aren't they just 5 ghosts? I've even killed Netherworld warriors, Iron Zombies, and even fire demons. These ghosts are nothing to me. 5 ghosts, fortune my ass. I've killed dozens of them every day, but none of them have dropped anything good. From Guyu's point of view, Chi Ming was definitely a player of Battle Online. He was just using the virtual projection technology to fool people. If he had not played this game before, he would have believed it. The bodies of the 5 ghosts became more solid. At this time, Chi Ming pointed at Guyu and said, 5 ghosts' wealth. Initially, he thought that after settling everything, he could finally go into closed-door cultivation without any worries and that his state of mind would not be affected. However, he now realized that after Guyu's arrival, his state of mind was in turmoil. After that, the man's voice came from the other side of the phone. At that time, his father was already in his twilight years, but his grandfather still maintained his youthful appearance, which really shocked them. About 5 minutes later, the voice appeared again. Grandpa, I've checked. It's a virtual reality game. It's said to be extremely realistic. It was also with the help of this grandfather that he was able to establish this business. It was only now that he knew that his grandfather had really become a legendary martial cultivator. Master, where did you hide your virtual projection equipment? I still don't understand, Chi Ming said. When he suddenly received a call from his grandfather, he initially thought that it was something serious. However, his grandfather actually came out of the mountain to play games. His brain suddenly short-circuited. Looking at the stunned Guyu, a trace of confusion flashed in Chi Ming's eyes. However, he did not ask anything. Instead, he turned his head and looked at the black whirlpool again. How can I not know? Do you go to the official forum of Battle Online? Do you know the tycoon who collects soul coins daily, Invincible Loneliness? That's me, Guyu said proudly. However, he was too lazy to care about this. Thinking that he could go home and continue playing games, Guyu's mood was extremely good. Chi Ming was also stunned. However, he could tell that Guyu seemed to have seen the 5 ghosts and even called out their names. All right, you can go now. My fate with the Gu family ends here. From now on, we're just strangers. Even if you come looking for me again, I won't see you again. Chi Ming's face showed signs of exhaustion. After a while, the phone call went through. Apart from a few rare appearances, he could not find any trace of his grandfather at all. Hearing this, Guyu had a strange expression on his face. He stood up and began to search the room. Under Qi Ming's puzzled gaze, Gu Yu searched the room and returned to his original spot. Weren't they just ghosts from the depths of the Ghost Mountains? Compared to wandering souls, they were exactly the same except that their virtual bodies were more solid. It's battle online. Don't pretend. I've already made it so clear. Gu Yu's eyes widened. Under normal circumstances, Gu Yu and his team members would have to kill dozens of these ghosts a day. Therefore, Gu Yu was completely dumbfounded. He had no idea what was going on. Seeing this scene, Qi Ming's eyes revealed a gratified smile. With a wave of his hand, the 5 ghosts slowly faded away and the black whirlpool dissipated. This ball of blood floated in the air and split into 5 parts, which flowed into the bodies of the 5 ghosts. Battle online? I'm not sure. Please wait a moment. I'll get someone to check it out. Looking at the white scenery outside, Gu Yu hummed a tune as he walked. Just as he expected, this master was a Jianghu swindler. He even guessed that there must be a storage space under this master's wooden house to store daily necessities. Otherwise, how could he not eat or drink? What is this battle online? Qi Ming was very curious. He did not know why there was something in the mortal world that could understand the underworld. This must be it, Qi Ming thought. The 5 wandering souls seemed to have received an order. They quickly floated to Gu Yu's side and coiled around him. There was even a transparent tie between them. Seeing that Qi Ming was still confused, Gu Yu grinned and stepped forward to pat Qi Ming's shoulder. Chapter 53. While experiencing the game, Qi Ming understood that leveling up could make him stronger. Therefore, Qi Ming chose to completely enter the human realm this time and stayed under the arrangement of his grandson. In order to verify this, he spent 3 days continuously releasing skills and then comprehending the trajectory of space energy. Qi Ming did not panic when he saw this. He began to deal with roving sword by relying on the speed reduction and toxicity of the turbid erosion. At the same time, the ghost soldier could always appear at the critical moment to block roving sword's fatal blow. Although he had made countless mistakes, he had still managed to summon a soldier that was missing half of its body. Chapter 54. Ao Jian was stunned when he heard Qi Ming mention the swordsmanship he used. Who are you? Ao Jian put away his red sword and asked in a deep voice. Qi Ming smiled slightly. Does it matter who I am? Since we are both cultivators, this netherworld creature. Impossible, it's mine. Ao Jian interrupted Qi Ming and said coldly. There's no winner between us, not to mention that I found it first. Ao Jian did not reply this time. The red spiritual sword in his hand turned into spots of spiritual light and recondensed into the form of a red sword on his back. Then, Ao Jian stretched out his hands and waved. The green and blue spiritual swords flew out from his back and were held in his hands. There's no winner? You're underestimating me. Ao Jian's attitude made Qi Ming feel helpless. As expected of the people from the Ao clan, they all had bad tempers. However, Qi Ming did not intend to give up. It was not easy to encounter a netherworld creature, and he did not want to leave just like that. When they fought again, Qi Ming was shocked to find that the swordsmanship performed by Ao Jian had completely changed. The weapons in his hands were constantly changing, and the swordsmanship became more overbearing and tricky. Sometimes it was as violent as a raging fire, and sometimes it was as chilling as ice. It was so unpredictable that Qi Ming could not resist it for a while. Once again, Qi Ming was close to Ao Jian. He wanted to control the ghost soldiers to resist and retreat, but he saw the 9 spiritual swords on Ao Jian's back being pulled out from his back at the same time. With a point of Ao Jian's finger, the sword shot towards him. Qi Ming did not expect the sword manipulation technique at all. The ghost soldiers in front of him were torn apart in an instant. But the spiritual swords did not slow down. The 9 spiritual swords pierced into his body at the same time. The scene in front of him slowly dimmed. Ao Jian just glanced at his fallen body coldly, then turned around and walked towards the netherworld creature in the distance. The 9 spiritual swords that were inserted into his body trembled slightly, then automatically floated back to Ao Jian's back and neatly spread out in a fan shape. Ao Jian did not use his full strength from the beginning of the battle with Qi Ming. Previously, he had been using the AO family sword technique. However, after knowing that Qi Ming was also a cultivator, he knew that his AO family sword technique would not be able to do anything to him. Thus, he decisively changed his method of attack and used Jian Chao's 10 demonic swords. Then, he relied on the imperial sword technique to easily kill him. Seeing the power of the 10 demonic swords, although Ao Jian looked calm on the surface, he was extremely excited. He knew that he had not taken the wrong path. This was the true, supreme sword principle. As long as he continued to comprehend it, he would eventually achieve great success in the sword principle. Although he had never seen Jian Chou in person, Ao Jian had already regarded him as his master. He was determined to live up to his inheritance and become the strongest swordsman. The reason why he wanted this netherworld creature this time was not only because he wanted to level up, but also because he had gradually understood the importance of soul coins in the game. Even Ao Jian, who looked down on materialistic things, had a thirst for soul coins. This was because the increase in the power of his spirit sword was not only synchronized with his own level, but he could also add various materials to increase the power of his spirit sword. There were many materials available in the auction house, but the prerequisite for purchasing them was having enough soul coins. The price of a netherworld creature was at least 100 soul coins, so Ao Jian could not resist this temptation. Ao Jian was happy, but Qi Ming, who had quit the game, was stunned. "Brat from the Ao family, you've angered me." Qi Ming, who had always been calm and expressionless, was now in a state of turmoil. This was the first time he had met someone who did not give him face and even killed him. The scene of the 9 spirit swords stabbing at him at the same time appeared in his mind, and Qi Ming still had some lingering fear. The sword manipulation technique? This is definitely not the sword technique of the Ao family. Did he really get a certain inheritance in that world? Thinking of this, Qi Ming's heart was burning. If he could get it, why couldn't I? Perhaps Qi Ming did not know that during the battle between him and Ao Jian, a certain inheritance in the Spirit Summoning Palace in the artifact space had also resonated. At the moment when the inheritance was about to descend, he was killed by Ao Jian and quit the game. If Qi Ming knew that his inheritance was interrupted because of Ao Jian, the hatred between the two would be on a different level. It would not be as simple as killing and stealing. At this time, Lu Wu and Bailey also left God's perspective after Qi Ming's death. Due to the appearance of cultivators, Lu Wu was still quite concerned about Ao Jian. He did not expect to see such a battle while observing Ao Jian. What Lu Wu did not expect was that Qi Ming was also a cultivator. Lu Wu did not know what was going on. Why did these hidden cultivators appear one after another? Did they find out that battle online was different? Lu Wu was a little worried. However, Bailey made Lu Wu feel at ease about this. First of all, as long as those cultivators had condensed the Yin body in the artifact, they would be marked. Betrayal was equivalent to death. Moreover, the Battle Online artifact would only be regarded as a game in the world of the living. In any case, they would not be able to find out the existence of the underworld. After hearing Bei Li's explanation, Lu Wu also asked his own question. What if there was someone in the world of the living who could go back and forth between the yin and yang? If that cultivator met a player, then everything would be exposed. You don't have to worry about this. Going back and forth between the yin and yang can only be done by the existence of Earth Immortals. With the depleted spiritual energy in the world of the living, it is impossible for such a strong person to exist. As for those who used to be Earth Immortals, they have already left, and it is impossible for them to return. Where did they go? Lu Wu was curious. Bailey pointed at the sky and stuck out her tongue. Lu Wu, by the way, there is another question. If the players encounter a particularly powerful god in the underworld, can the Battle Online artifact protect their souls from being extracted? Lu Wu's eyes were filled with worry when he mentioned this question. Lu Wu was not worried at all when encountering a person of Du Yan's level. However, after knowing that there was a god in the underworld, he was afraid that those bold players would really go there and test the waters at the edge of death. Wu, do you know what material the Battle Online artifact is made of? Bailey did not answer him directly. Instead, she looked at Lu Wu and asked with a serious expression. Lu Wu shook his head. The supreme law of the underworld, reincarnation, is inextricably linked to the battle online artifact. As for the specifics, Wu, I can't tell you yet. However, you have to understand that your worries are unfounded. No matter how powerful a god is, he is only under the law. No one can surpass the supreme law of reincarnation. Lu Wu's heart was in turmoil when he heard the explanation. Many questions emerged in his mind. How could the great ancestor, who is only the king of Beiki, be related to the supreme law of reincarnation? Also, who was Bei Li and how did she know all these? However, he had said that he trusted Bei Li. Hence, he chose to wait for the day when Bei Li would tell him the truth. Chapter 55. After receiving the order, a few giant rhinoceroses came from behind Cha Na's army with heavy steps, carrying a huge war drum. Bei Li was about to answer when her expression changed. Woo, let's go home. The players were obviously hot-tempered. After being slapped, they exploded and cursed at the Soul Gatherer. Seeing this, the Soul Gatherer stepped forward and slapped each of the players. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of Lord Cha Na? You Dahai, the descendant of the king of Beiki. Follow me. I swear to cut off Cha Na's head. At this time, at the border between Liuli District and the Mansion of the Dead, the roar of the beasts shook the sky. A mighty army of 100,000 was approaching. After being slapped again and being restrained at the same time, the three furious players could not break free and could only continue to curse. However, as they got closer to the Mansion of the Dead, the number of players suddenly decreased. When the Mansion of the Dead appeared in front of them, Cha Na was stunned by the scene in front of him. After receiving the order to attack, thousands of beasts roared. The Een soldiers riding on the backs of the beasts also showed a bloodthirsty look in their eyes as they roared and charged forward. With the arrival of Christmas, there were a lot fewer players in the game, which was rare. Cha Na, you bastard. Keep your dogs in check. Don't ever put a leash on them. Cha Na nodded and glanced at the Mansion of the Dead. Let's move forward. The Soul Gatherer beneath the throne bowed to Cha Na and said, Lord Cha Na, these creatures often appear in Liuli District, but they can't even withstand a single blow. I think they're a tribe that has wandered here from other regions. Facing Cha Na, the three players were not afraid at all and boldly revealed their identities. Roar. Lu originally planned to buy a few new clothes for Bei Li, but it seemed that she was not interested at all. Her eyes were always lingering on the snack shops. Looking at the army of players in the distance, Cha Na slowly stood up from the skeleton throne. A big flag with the word Cha written on it was raised behind him. Seeing this, the Soul Gatherer quickly said, Lord Cha Na, we can't go back to Liuli District anymore. Although this tribe is large in number, they are weak. We will definitely win this battle. Kill the bastard. The players behind him shouted in unison. Players often communicated on the forum. Everyone thought that they would look for an opportunity to launch an attack on Cha Na, but they did not expect Cha Na to take the initiative to attack them. The worst thing was that the number of players tonight was obviously not as many as the previous few days. You dog, you'll die a horrible death. You didn't give birth to a son. Son of AB asterisk TCH, why don't you try hitting me again? At this moment, Wu Guo raised his battle axe. After dinner, Lu Wu and Bei Li were shopping in the mall. Couples could be seen everywhere. Cha Na is here. Upon receiving Cha Na's order, the Corpse Wolf Cavalry, Corpse Elephant Cavalry, and Rhinoceros Cavalry began to advance once again. Soulbringer's face turned ashen when he heard those words. He turned to look at Cha Cha, who nodded at him. Then he raised the scythe in his hand and swung it down, killing all three players. From Cha Na's point of view, since he had moved to the Mansion of the Dead, he would not allow other clans to reside here. Before he broke through to the Ghost King realm, this would be his territory. The descendant of the king of Beiki, Peng Wanli. However, the closer they got to the border between the underworld and the Azure realm, the more confused Cha Na became. Why were there more and more creatures? Slap, slap, slap. The Soulbringer attacked again with a cold face. Looking at the players' camp in the distance, Cha Na's face turned gloomy. There are quite a lot of them. If we start a war, my army will suffer unnecessary losses. Christmas, a holiday that originated from the West, had become popular in Chi Dragon and had become an important holiday. However, compared to the West, Christmas in Chi Dragon had an indescribable sense of romance. The descendant of the king of Baiki, Gout Dashin. Smoke and dust billowed as the ground trembled under the stampede of Cha Na's beast cavalry. At this time, the players who were wandering in Liuli District suddenly noticed a mighty black army coming from Liuli District. At the forefront of Cha Na's army, sitting on the skeleton throne, Cha Na's eyes were cold. What are those creatures along the way? Why are they here? In the distance, nearly 100,000 players were looking at them from afar. The players had seen the video of the seaside, so they were familiar with Cha Na. Looking at the figure on the skeleton throne, the 3 players who had been captured were worried. Finally, he ordered a few random players to be captured and brought to him by the Yin soldiers. Cha Na raised his hand high and clenched it tightly. Dong! Dong! The sound of war drums could be heard from behind. I'll ask you again. What race are you, and why are you here at the Mansion of the Dead? Lu Wu patted Bei Li's head and pointed to a children's clothing store not far away. It's time to buy some new clothes. The scene of 100,000 troops charging together was shocking. The players who had never seen such a realistic battle were completely stunned by the scene before them. Kill. Of course, the single dogs were excluded. Looking at Bei Li, who was enjoying her ice cream cone, Lu Wu suddenly felt that this holiday was not a good one for him. Hearing the 3 players' replies, Cha Na was stunned, and a strange expression appeared on his face. More and more players had heard about Cha Na's attack. They quickly mobilized and formed a temporary army in preparation to defend against the enemy. What's wrong? Lu Wu quickly asked as he realized that something might have happened. Which region did you come from? What race are you? The Soulbringer asked the 3 players after taking a glance at Cha Na. Walking on the streets at night, many shopping malls were decorated with Christmas trees. The flashing neon lights filled the air with a festive atmosphere. Looking at the players who had turned into a black fog, Cha Na's face was filled with surprise. He did not say anything and only signaled for the army to continue advancing. At the same time, he ordered them to kill any creatures they encountered along the way. Cha Na nodded. In his opinion, as long as he killed tens of thousands of them, this race would naturally be scared out of their wits. They would not be able to withstand a single blow. Thus, he nodded and said, "Let's fight." The players who had regained their senses heard Wu Guoyi's roar, and their faces were filled with determination. They roared and followed Wu Guoyi as they charged towards Cha Na's army. What the F***CK? F***CK, you immortal. Brothers, the bastard Cha Na is here. Are you ready? Wu Guoyi, who was temporarily appointed as the chief commander, turned around and looked at his brothers behind him. He raised his battle axe and roared with determination. The players who saw this felt their hearts tighten. They quickly ran towards the Mansion of the Dead. At the same time, they shouted in the guild live chat, asking everyone to spread the news, or else the Mansion of the Dead would be destroyed. Chapter 56. After receiving Lu Wu's order, Lu Mo, who was in the Mansion of the Dead, had a look of hatred in his eyes. He dashed toward the battlefield in a flash, and the other NPCs followed his lead. Blood rained down from the sky, dripping onto the faces of the players. Their expressions were blank, as if they had lost something important. Looking at Cha Na, hatred flashed in Lu Mo's eyes. He then turned to look at the players who came to support him without hesitation, and a sense of warmth flowed through his heart. The players who witnessed this scene were completely infected. Cha Na finally lost his patience when faced with the endless stream of suicidal players. He took a deep breath and spat out the scorching hellfire. He also remembered the chubby chef who liked to joke around but had excellent cooking skills. They were all working hard to restore my father's glory. I can't let them down. Just then, a message appeared in Lu Wu's mind. Cha Na's eyes flashed with contempt when he saw Lu Mo and the others. He raised his fist and smashed it forward. Hellfire surged out from the ground and spread forward in a frenzy. Cha Na, you bastard, is here. The war drums sounded again, and blood rained down from the sky. The Yin soldiers, who were in a frenzy of killing, roared excitedly at the sky. Lu Mo and the others had been boosted by Lu Wuyong's soul power, and their strength had reached its peak. However, due to the limitations of their foundations, their strength could not compare to Cha-Cha's. In other words, they were prepared to die in this battle. Thinking of this, Lu Mo channeled all his strength into his palm and slammed it behind him. At this moment, the hellfire finally broke through the defense line of Lu Mo and the others, igniting them. Even under the burning of the hellfire, their eyes were still filled with hope as they looked at the players. Just like when they were first created, their memories were real. They were once the subordinates of the king of Beiki, and they hated Cha-Na as well. Cha-Na's heart ached at the increasing number of casualties in his army of 100,000. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. With a roar, he leaped into the air and transformed into a ferocious, muscular giant, charging toward the players. They stood in front of the players and worked together to resist the burning of Cha-Na's hellfire, blocking the most fatal attack for the players. The moment the two forces collided, a large number of players and soldiers were knocked to the ground, and a bloody massacre ensued. Lu Wu's gaze became firm as he looked at the players who were fighting for their lives. The sacrifice of these familiar characters made the players freeze on the spot. "Let's go!" Lu Mo yelled again. His face, already red from the heat, looked abnormally sinister. This was the first time the players had come into contact with a real battle, and they were unable to adapt to such a tragic environment. However, they were not afraid of death. They knew that the Mansion of the Dead was behind them, and this was their main base. They fought with their lives on the line. Seeing Cha-Cha's appearance, the players went into a frenzy. They all rushed in the direction where Cha-Cha had come from. Under the burning of the nether fire, Lu Mo and the others grew weaker and weaker, their soul power almost depleted. "Kill!" Wu Guai simply replied with the word "kill" and rushed forward again. The battle axe in his hand danced continuously, chopping down several soldiers. However, the players weren't afraid at all. They followed their allies and attacked in a frenzy. They could still vividly remember Big Brother Lu, who was like an older brother next door, who would tell them stories and talk to them. As more and more of their members fell, the players were pushed back by Cha-Na's army. Step by step, they retreated to the center of the Mansion of the Dead. A huge energy wave spread out, forcing all the incoming players to retreat. "Go! Stay alive and avenge us. Don't forget the skills I taught you. Stay alive. You are the hope of Beiki." Chu-Shur smiled and pushed the last of his strength toward the players. As their comrades fell one after another, the players became more and more bloodthirsty. Their attacks became more violent, and Cha-Na's army began to suffer losses. Cha-Na's voice echoed in the air. All the soldiers were bloodthirsty and rushed toward the players again. "Go! Avenge us!" Fat Chef turned around and pushed the players with all his strength, pushing them back again. As the nether fire spread rapidly, many players were killed and injured. Cha-Na's sudden attack was completely out of Lu Wu and Bei Li's expectation. When they arrived, the war had already broken out. "Ants!" Cha-Na roared. As he approached the players, he slammed his giant hand on the ground. Dozens of requests from NPCs popped up in Lu Wu's mind, and he was stunned. Cha-Na's expression froze when he saw this scene. This was completely different from what he had expected. Logically, the death of their comrades should have caused the morale of the mutated tribe army to collapse. Why did they become even crazier? Lu Wu and Bei Li, who were observing the battle, looked solemn. The situation was not optimistic for the players. The appearance of these dozens of figures shocked the players. They did not expect the NPCs to come and help at this moment. Cha-Na's strength was almost unstoppable. Faced with his crazy massacre, the players encountered an unprecedented challenge. "My lord, Fatty Li requests to join the battle. I'm willing to kill Cha-Na to prove the king of Beiki." At this critical moment, dozens of figures appeared. Granted, faced with Cha-Na's army, which had almost the same number as their own, the players had a hard time resisting. It could even be considered a one-sided massacre. "Boss, there are too many of them. What should we do?" Li Tianxia asked Wu Guai loudly after cutting down Yin soldier. He also remembered the serious and inflexible teacher, Chu Shi, who had guided them diligently. Kill. Leave no one alive. Suddenly, a huge pit was formed on the ground. All the players within the range were shattered by the huge force. Boom, boom, boom. Chana sneered when he saw this scene. Just as he had expected, this group of mutated humans were too weak to withstand a single blow. The death fire was extremely overbearing. As long as the players were touched by it, they would be instantly burned in a black smoke and be kicked out of the game. In Lumo's memory, these players really existed. They were also the descendants of Beiki. He did not want to let their sacrifice be in vain. Die. He turned his head to look at Cha Na and the others again. This time, the players went completely crazy. Faced with the incoming players, Cha Na hardened his heart and increased the power of the death fire in his mouth again. This made it even more difficult for Lu Mo and the others to resist. Brother Lu, let's fight together. The players were also influenced. They did not want to leave and attack Cha Na again. My lord, Lu Mo requests to join the battle. I'm willing to kill the traitor Cha Na to prove my father's innocence. You guys go. Looking at the stunned players, Lu Mo turned around and shouted at them with difficulty. My lord, Chu Shi is willing to join the battle. I'm willing to kill Cha Na to prove my father's innocence. Chapter 57. On the homepage forum of Battle Online, a video was posted by a player who died and quit. Our friends are gone. I beg my comrades to come back and fight alongside us. We will avenge them. In the video, Lu Mo and the others used up their last bit of strength to force the players to retreat. In the end, they were burned to ashes by the nether fire. The video completely shocked the players outside. Crayon_Shinchan, I still remember having a heart-to-heart talk with Brother Lu at night. I still remember the good wine he gave me. Rest in peace, brother. I will avenge you. Time is like a song. Rest in peace, brothers. I will avenge you by bathing Cha Na's army in blood. Shueli_the_strongest. I was on a date outside. I never thought that something like this would happen. Little soldier Shueli, please return to the team. I want to kill Cha Na for revenge. Foodie_Shaojia. I'm so mad at the thought of not being able to taste the dark cuisine made by the fat chef anymore. I'm on my way home. Brothers, hang in there. The death of Lu Mo and the others enraged the players. Many of them informed each other and rushed home quickly. At this time, many Battle Online players learned about what happened on Christmas Day from the QQ group created by the guild or from their friends' text messages. The players' anger was completely ignited. In a hotel, a man hurriedly put on his clothes and dashed out of the door under the angry and confused gaze of his girlfriend. In a KTV, a few guys suddenly put down their microphones and bid farewell to their friends with grief and indignation. They rushed home. In a certain bar, a few friends were laughing and drinking. Suddenly, one of their phones rang. After he picked up the phone, his expression became serious. Then, he said a few words to his friends, and they immediately walked out of the bar, hailed a taxi, and rushed home. In a billiard room, one of them read the text message and told his friends about it. They quickly went to the bar to settle the bill and rushed home. Such scenes were happening in many places. One by one, the players appeared in the game. At this moment, they were all summoned by their comrades and joined the battle for revenge. In the Demolition Guild's live chat channel, the roar of the guild leader rang in the ears of the members. Brothers, I'm right in front. I want you to step over my dead body and charge forward. Kill. In the Avengers Guild's live chat channel, Wu Guoyi's roar was heard. Unity is the only way to not wander. Kill with me. In the live chat channel of the Great Dragon Guild, Chun Zi roared, for the glory of the King of Beiki, for our lost friends, we will die without regrets. Kill. In Invincible Mythology's live chat channel, Invincible Loneliness waved his long sword and looked at Cha Na from afar. He let out an angry roar. I swear I'll kill Cha Na tonight. I won't rest until he's dead. At this moment, all of the guilds had given up on fighting against each other. They united as one and launched a mad assault on Instant. Even Cha Cha was stunned. More and more creatures appeared in front of him, and soon, the number had exceeded 300,000. He did not even know where these creatures had come from. It was as if there was no end to them. Lu Wu was encouraged when he saw the united players. He retrieved the music file that Baran had sent to him from his mailbox and asked Bei Li to digitize it and transfer it into the artifact. At the rear of Cha Na's army, the sound of war drums thundered through the air. At that moment, background music started playing in the ears of all the players. The Phoenix, put on your war, paint put on your battle makeup. You're a brick tied to me that's dragging me down, though you drag me into the abyss like a boulder strike a match, and I'll burn you to the ground strike a match, and I'll burn you to the ground. Setting fire to the sky, burning unbridled across the sky. Now that the tide is rising, danger is everywhere. We will rush to the battlefield to kill our enemies. Put on your war, paint put on your battle armor. Silver clouds with gray linings, I can see the light of victory behind the dark clouds. So we can take the world back from a heart attack. We will reclaim the city from the lost and ruthless hands. The music resounded throughout the battlefield, overshadowing the beating of the war drums and igniting the passion of the players. Roar, kill. The two forces collided again. The players turned their anger into strength and unleashed their unparalleled combat power. Being weak was not scary. What was scary was not having the determination to fight to the death. With the help of the background music, the players did not retreat. Instead, they forced Cha Na's army to retreat. The war continued to heat up. Even though Cha Na was personally involved, he felt powerless against such a huge group of players. What scared him even more was that the number of players was still increasing. In this battle, the players gradually overwhelmed Cha Na's army. Night Massacre Squad, follow me and kill. The assassin squad, led by Yi Shui, flew to the front line of the battle. Following Yi Shui's words, everyone in the squad roared in anger. Huge crimson figures appeared behind them and shrouded them. Huge blood blades were swung, and a blood-red light shot up into the sky. This squad was formed by Yi Shui, at a great cost. There were 10 of them, and each of them had killed 10,000 blood essences to become the first batch of players to advance to become cursed apostles. At this moment, they unleashed their immense power. Like a demon god, the Night Massacre Squad killed the Yin soldiers and was shocked by Cha Na. Night Massacre, Naraka Realm, you are the descendants of the cursed clan. Cha Na was horrified. He knew how powerful the cursed clan was. Back then, he was part of the army that encircled and annihilated the cursed clan. It was a powerful clan that required the king of Beiki to fight personally. He did not expect that these weaklings in front of him had mastered the power of the Naraka realm. The fear in Cha Na's heart spread. However, the death of Lu Mo and the others had completely ignited the anger in the players' hearts. Their hatred was irreconcilable, and it was impossible for them to stop. This hatred could only be cleansed with blood. Roar! Cha Na, you bastard, I want you dead. A berserker broke away from the crowd and dashed toward Cha Na with bloodshot eyes. He swung his huge sword and slashed at Cha Na's leg. He recalled the heart-to-heart talk he had with Lu Mo half a month ago when he broke up with his girlfriend. When he recalled Lu Mo's sincere teachings and smiling face, he was completely enraged. Kill! In the Myth Guild, Invincible Loneliness threw off his cloak and revealed the runes embedded on his body. He clenched his fists tightly, and, as the green gemstone lit up, he suddenly leaped toward Cha Na. Then, the red gemstone lit up, and he gathered all his strength and punched Cha Na's head, causing him to take a small step back. At the same time, a fist mark was left on Cha Na's head. After spending a lot of money to buy soul coins, Guyu had finally gathered all the materials needed to advance to become the first rune master in the game. He had also displayed his formidable strength. At the same time, a figure leaped into the battlefield, attracting the attention of many Yin soldiers. That person carried 9 spiritual swords on his back. As he appeared, the sword chi revolved around him, forming a blade storm, clearing out a vacuum zone. Under the control of Ao Jian, the spiritual swords were like the Grim Reaper's scythe that harvested lives, displaying unparalleled power. Although Ao Jian was indifferent to everything, he knew one thing. Jian Cho was his mentor, and his mentor had been loyal to the king of Beiki all his life. Chana was completely stunned by A.O. Jin's appearance. He could not help but shout, "Jian Chao's swordsmanship! Isn't he dead?" Chapter 58. However, that was not the end of Chana's shock. Several arrows streaked across the sky and landed at the back of Chana's army. Suddenly, a dazzling halo burst out and blew up a large number of Yin soldiers. Impossible! Impossible! The power of the Sun Chaser. He's long dead. How is this possible? The reappearance of these familiar abilities sent Cha Na into a state of panic. In his mind, he could not help but recall the few comrades who had once served the king of Beiki with him. They were powerful, but they had died in battle. Roar! Comrades, press forward. We won't stop until we die. Wu Gui roared. Roar! The players roared in unison and collectively took a heavy step forward, causing the ground to tremble. Chana's army, which was initially indomitable, was completely suppressed by the rising morale of the players. They were forced into a passive retreat. However, the players were determined to kill Chana's army. They formed a 1,000-meter-long defensive line, led by 10 Night Killers, and charged forward together. The mage group began to summon the skeleton army. The densely packed Yin soldiers appeared, making the formation of the players look even bigger. Son of A.B. *H, heal our comrades. Guyu roared in the live chat channel of the Myth Guild. Then, a little white dog leaped up high and unleashed its inherited skill. Green raindrops fell from the sky. Under the baptism of the raindrops, the injured players on the front line stood up with determination. They raised their weapons and joined the battle. This night was destined to be a sleepless night for the players of Battle Online. After the battle lasted for 4 hours, the players had pushed Chana's army to the border between the Mansion of the Dead and Lioli City. However, the battle was still ongoing. The players who had died were also watching the battle through the live broadcast on the official website. When the cooldown for resurrection was over, they would quickly join the battle. During the 4-hour battle, the strength displayed by the players' camp terrified the Yin soldiers, led by Chana. They had never seen such madness and endless strength in their lives. It was as if these creatures were not afraid of death at all. Even if they were to die, they would stab them and bite them. At this point in the battle, more than half of Chana's army had been killed or injured. Even Chana's face was pale. With such a huge loss, he knew that he would no longer have the right to speak in the land of Beiki. Even if he wanted to retreat now, it was too late. The players had no intention of letting them go. Chana had no doubt that even if his army returned to Lioli District, the crazed players would still follow them. He never imagined that the power he had accumulated over the years would be destroyed by these players. In the face of such a desperate situation, Chana let out a furious roar and charged into the midst of the players. Chana was indeed powerful, but to the players, it was nothing. Chana, die! Everyone surrounded Chana, inflicting damage on him in a frenzy. Even though the damage was negligible, even someone as strong as Chana could only hold on for less than half an hour under such a frenzied siege. He retreated to his own camp with a look of horror on his face. His body was riddled with scars, all inflicted by the angry players. As the saying went, ants could bite an elephant to death. Even someone as strong as you could not withstand the concentrated damage. Seeing that Chana was being forced to retreat, the players roared in excitement once again, causing the ground to tremble. Under such circumstances, Chana finally couldn't take it anymore and roared. He roared, "Retreat!" Seeing that Chana was about to retreat, the players in the camp surged forward. "Chana, you bastard! Go to hell! You will die tonight no matter what. Kill them all. Avenge our fallen brothers. We will not rest until one of us is dead. Brothers, let's go all out. Kill Chana's bastard army. Bastard, don't think of leaving since you're here. Kill." Looking at the fearful Yin soldiers in front of them, the players' blood boiled. Everyone shouted and charged forward while waving their weapons, not giving Chana's army a chance to retreat. In all the guild live chat channels, the commanders shouted with all their might, continuously attacking Chana's army. The entire battlefront began to move, from the Mansion of the Dead to Liuli District. After relentless pursuit, Cha Na's army was finally pushed to the underworld sea, to the point of no retreat. After 8 hours of fighting, the light of dawn slowly rose from the horizon. The battle lasted for an entire night, and the players' camp had lost more than 400,000 people. Due to resurrection, the players' camp still had more than 200,000 people left. On the other hand, Cha Na's army had suffered more than 80,000 casualties. The remaining Een soldiers had lost their will to fight and were trapped on the beach of Liuli District, unable to advance or retreat. Brothers, victory is in sight. To honor our fallen friends, let's cut off Cha Na's head. Wu Guo raised his sword and pointed it at Cha Na, issuing the final order to attack. Roar! The players roared in unison, advancing step by step towards the remaining Een soldiers. Looking at the approaching army of players, Cha Na's heart was filled with regret. If he had another chance, he would never have provoked these crazy creatures. It could be said that Cha Na had also lost the desire to continue fighting. Cha's heart was filled with regret as he recalled how he had thought that killing a portion of them would be enough to intimidate these creatures. Kill! The battle broke out once again, and the players' camp launched their final attack. Amidst the deafening battle cries, the Een soldiers fell one after another. It was extremely difficult to defend. As more and more Een soldiers died, Cha Na was in complete despair. He glanced at the sea, then at the densely packed players in front of him with resentment. Then, he leaped towards the sea. Don't even think of escaping. Seeing that Cha Na was about to abandon the army and leave by himself, Gu Yu roared. The runes on his body flashed, and he leaped up with all his strength and threw a punch at Cha Na. Those who stand in my way shall die. Cha Na roared and threw a punch at Gu Yu as well. When the two fists collided, Gu Yu was instantly turned into a cloud of black mist. However, Cha Na's body also paused in the air and fell rapidly. The moment he landed, dozens of figures surrounded him at the same time. 10 shadows of the night killers suddenly waved their blood blades and slashed at Cha Na. Beside him, Ao Jian also made a sword gesture, and 9 spiritual swords charged at Cha Na. Get lost! Cha Na's fists danced in the air and defeated several shadows of the night killers. However, he still suffered a few attacks, and, at the same time, the 9 spiritual swords gouged a bloody wound on his body. At this time, the other players also swarmed toward Cha Na, determined not to let him escape. Cha Na was already exhausted after fighting for the entire night. Facing the swarming players, he could only defend himself with difficulty. He wanted to escape again, but when he leaped up again, 9 annihilation arrows suddenly appeared and pushed him back into the players' encirclement. The players tried their best to trap Cha Na where he was, so that he could not leave. Feeling his strength constantly draining away, Cha Na roared in grief and indignation. His body rose from the ground again, and he used all his strength to leap towards the sea. This was his only chance. If he did not succeed, only death awaited him. Looking at Cha Na leaping high into the air again, the players' eyes widened. They roared in anger, but there was nothing they could do. They had already exhausted all their means. At this moment, Yi Chun, who was not far away, took a deep breath and slowly raised his scorching sun bow. He released all the sun-chasing energy, and a burning energy arrow slowly formed on the bowstring. Looking at Cha Na's figure, Yi Chun roared and suddenly let go of the bow. This arrow, which contained all the hopes of Yi Chun and the players, pierced through the sky and hit Cha Na's back. Looking at Cha Na falling towards the sea again, Yi Chun's eyes revealed a hint of a smile. He muttered to himself, "Fate is too wonderful for words." Chapter 59. This time, Cha Na could no longer turn the situation around. After fighting for the entire night, the energy in his body had been completely depleted. Other than his exhausted body, he had no other lethal ability to perform. Facing the players who were swarming toward him and even climbing onto his body to attack him, Cha Na's eyes were filled with indignation. He kept waving his arms like an elephant struggling on its deathbed. The flame of his life was slowly extinguished by the frenzied attacks. Finally, his body fell to the ground with a loud thud. The soul flame in his body was completely extinguished. The white light of a collective leveling up flickered. Roar! Looking at the sun that was gradually rising from the horizon, all the players raised their weapons and roared in unison. After the death of the ghost General Cha Na in the Christmas Eve battle, the players felt a sense of satisfaction in their hearts. Everyone felt satisfied. In this peaceful world, only Battle Online could bring them the clash of iron and blood, the most primitive wild impulse. All the players' blood was still boiling. Hundreds of thousands of them roared in excitement, venting the excitement in their hearts. A large number of players rushed toward Yi Chun, lifting him up and throwing him into the air to celebrate. Yi Chun's shot was out of all the players' expectations. It could even be said that no one was optimistic about this shot. Everyone looked down on Yi Chun's archery skills. His archery skills had even become a joke on the official forum many times. However, this time, at this critical moment, Yi Chun's performance made all the players cheer for him. Outside the arena, the players who saw this scene roared together and slammed the table in excitement. Yi Chun, you're AF * King Genius. I really want to kiss you. You did well. You didn't screw up at this critical moment. I give you full marks for this shot. Wu Gui, Yi Liangchun in a desperate situation. This shot is the best in the entire game. 666. This shot is going to be recorded in the history of this game. It's so cool. I suddenly became a fan of this kid. Damn it. Whoever dares to laugh at Yi Chun in the future, don't blame my staff for being merciless. Let's celebrate. Our Beiki army has won. Good job, everyone. After 9 hours of hard work, we've finally won. Cheers to victory. We're the strongest. At this moment, all the players were in a state of excitement. They roared and roared at the seaside, venting the passion in their hearts. When Lu Wu saw this scene, a smile appeared in his mind. He used his artifact to save this scene. At the same time, a sheepskin book appeared in front of all the players in the game. On the cover of the book, the words War History Book were written in large font. The pages slowly flipped open. Christmas Day, December 25th, 2318. After 9 hours of bloody battle, the Beiki army finally forced Cha Na's army to the underworld coast. They killed the traitor, Cha Na, and achieved an epic victory. This Christmas battle will be recorded in the annals of history. Below this line of text was a picture of all the players raising their weapons and shouting excitedly. Server announcement: all players who participated in the Christmas campaign will receive the epic title, Unswerving Till Death. Until Death, epic title, dedicated to the brave warriors who fought to the death in the Battle of Christmas on December 25th, 2318. Title attribute: obtain 2 free trials per day. Looking at the screenshot recorded in the annals of history, the players raised their weapons excitedly again and fell into a cheer. They felt honored and proud because they were part of this epic battle and had been awarded the title of epic. This was the highest honor that no one else had. In the comments, congratulations everyone, congratulations to yourself for the epic title. It's so cool. I'm so happy. Although I'm dead, I'm so happy. Thank you all for Christmas. I'll remember this forever. I didn't expect to be able to participate in such a real battle. From fear to perseverance, and then to anger, I fought and killed for this. Thank you to all my comrades who fought alongside me. Thank you all. The Beiki army is the strongest. Let's fight. Our glory will be recorded in the annals of history. Marching forward into the future, Beiki army member Shueli is ready. Marching forward into the future, Beiki army member Wu Guoi is ready. Marching forward into the future, Beiki army member Gu Yu is ready. Marching forward into the future, Beiki army member Chen Ziyu is ready. Marching forward into the future, Beiki army member Yi Shui is ready. Everyone swore to fight on the forum. They firmly believed that the glory of the Beiki army would not stop here. They also challenged the upcoming 2319, a new chapter in the new war. Then, all the players laughed and joked along the way to the mansion of the dead. At the forefront of the team, the flag of Chana's army was torn down. Chana's head was hung on it as a souvenir and was brought back to the mansion of the dead. It was hung on the outer wall of the mansion of the dead. Many players began to take photos with Chana's head outside the high wall. The photos were uploaded to the forum, showing off their achievements. Today was a joyous day for the players. None of them went to kill monsters, level up, or search for treasures. Instead, they gathered at the center of the mansion of the dead for a celebratory feast. All the players took out the wine, spiritual materials, and food that they had stored and shared it with each other. After the celebratory feast, the players spontaneously gathered outside the mansion of the dead and built a hero's mound for Lu Mo and the others. All the players bowed to these few heroes who had sacrificed their lives. Lu Wu felt sorry for the death of Lu Mo and the others. However, it was also their sacrifice that allowed the players to unleash unparalleled combat power. Although he could recast the souls of Lu Mo and the others, they were gone after all. They would forever lose their memories of the players and become brand new NPCs, no longer the people that the players were familiar with. After thinking for a while, Lu Wu gave up on resurrecting Lu Mo and the others. Instead, he recast their souls and threw them into the game with new identities. Just like the towering tombstones, there was only one of them in the players' hearts. In that case, it would be good to let them stay in the hearts of the players and become a part of their history. Chapter 60. After the end of the Christmas battle, the exhausted players began to quit the game one after another. It was also at this time that an update notice was released on the official website of Battle Online. Update maintenance notice, new expansion pack Stormy Waves added. In the Christmas battle, the Baiki army fought hard and won the final victory, obtaining the ownership of Liuli District. However, there are more terrifying and powerful enemies waiting for the players to challenge in the North Rocks. Above the mysterious underworld sea, countless treasures and ancient ruins are waiting for you to conquer and explore. The Rock Ghost King in the north and the underworld sea in the east are new challenges. The horn of war has been blown once again. Let us reassemble our armor and set sail in the stormy waves. Update content. 1. Special items added in the shop. Spectre Warship, Spectre Ship, Spectre Warship, Guild exclusive. A weapon specially built for large-scale guilds. It has the ability to devour spiritual materials to evolve. Players can choose their own cultivation method. Spectre Warship's main cultivation branch, Spectre Form. The main evolution mode is Speed. After the owner chooses this mode as the evolution direction, the Spectre Warship will transform all the spiritual materials it devours into the evolution direction to improve the ship's sailing speed and efficiency. In the later stages, it can evolve into a special sailing ability. Tyrant Form. The main evolution mode is Hull Hardness. After the owner chooses this mode as the evolution direction, the Spectre Warship will transform all the spiritual materials it devours into the evolution direction to improve the hull hardness. In the later stages, it can evolve into special collision skills, such as Wrath of the Dragonhorn and Tyrant Body. Disaster Form. Special form with this mode as the cultivation method. The Spectre Warship will obtain the dual evolution direction of Spectre and Tyrant Body. At the same time, there is a chance to obtain primary consciousness in the devouring evolution and master the power of the ocean. Note: please choose the disaster form carefully. In this state, the spiritual materials consumed for the Spectre Warship's evolution will be doubled. Price in the shop: 3,000 soul coins, Spectre Ship. Build your own Spectre Ship. There are more than 100 cultivation branches waiting for the players to explore. Set sail to the sea. Price: 200 soul coins too. Detailed explanation of marine treasures son of the sea. Fruit: a mysterious fruit blessed by the sea. It is a priceless, epic level treasure. After devouring, one can obtain the blessing of the underworld sea god and obtain a random talent level ability. Evergreen Forest. One of the best spiritual materials to evolve a Spectre Ship. There is a chance for the ship to comprehend special abilities. Spiritual Sea Fish. There are millions of spiritual level fish in the Yellow Spring Sea. Consuming a spiritual fish will give you an attribute bonus related to the spiritual fish's grade. Fish level classification. Fish level, useless, normal, spirit level, sea spirit level, psychic level, sky spirit level, sea spirit level. Note: eating spiritual fish above the sea spirit level has a chance to obtain special abilities. 3. Relic in the ocean above the sea. There were many islands and legacies left behind by powerful sea tribes. Players could explore them on their own. 4. Disaster at the sea. The mysterious netherworld sea is filled with countless undercurrents and natural disasters. Please pay attention to your safety while exploring. 5. Add new NPCs such as Weapon Forger, Skill Instructor, and Navigator. This update will be maintained for 12 hours. We apologize for the inconvenience. The players on the forum were in an uproar when they saw this announcement. Shueli _ the _ strongest. Wah! I, Shueli, am finally going to become the Pirate King. Crayon _ Shinchan. The Marine headquarters has been established. All the pirates upstairs, come to me. Watermelon _ Taro. Isn't the son of the sea a devil fruit? Damn, I seem to have seen a magnificent battle on the sea. I was so excited that I was trembling. However, when I saw that the cheapest Spectre ship cost 200 soul coins, I shrank into a corner and started sobbing uncontrollably. It was so uncomfortable to hold back my curse. Invincible _ loneliness. The ship of calamity looks great. Smiley face. Also, I'm collecting soul coins without limit. Don't be afraid that I don't have money. I'm afraid that you don't have soul coins. Players with soul coins, please join the group. 318815704. Yeeth _ Schwetter _ is the _ cutest. I'm so sad. I'm in desperate need of soul coins. Why hasn't this bastard game opened a top-up channel? Also, who is the bastard boss of this game? Is he paying the R&D team? Angry, little tiger. Look for a rich lady. I want the kind that can buy soul coins for me. Captain _ of _ demolition _ officers. There are so many treasures in the netherworld sea. I have a feeling that I'm going to get the inheritance of a hidden class soon. Cultivating _ longevity. 7. Oh my, this world is getting more and more interesting. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm going to ask my grandson for money to make me stronger. Ye _ the _ most _ handsome replied to cultivating _ longevity. Grandson? How old are you, old man? Cultivating _ longevity replied to Ye _ the _ most _ handsome. I'm over 120 years old. Ye _ the _ most _ handsome replied to cultivating _ longevity. Middle finger. Supervisor _ of _ demolition _ officers. Interesting. Looks like we have one more goal. We, the Demolition Guild, will be number 1 in both the sea and on land. My back hurts _ talking. Sea War? I'm a first mate in real life. Looks like it's time for me to show my skills. Surprise. JPG, Prandl. As an explorer, I'm ready to set sail. Also, I want to collect soul coins. I want to build my own ship and start my personal sea adventure happy. After the release of the new expansion pack, Terrifying Waves, the players responded strongly. At the same time, they were curious about the netherworld sea. Not long after the release of the expansion pack, the price of soul coins fluctuated again. All the major guilds wanted to build a guild-level Spectre warship before others. Under the mass purchase, the price of soul coins began to rise, even to the point where there was a demand but no supply. This was because the players, who were also curious about the sea and had a desire to explore, also wanted to build their own Spectre warship. Hence, they were not willing to sell their soul coins. This led to many complaints in the forum. Hundreds of thousands of players even posted a thread titled, "Rubbish Game. Don't open the top-up channel." Strong protest. On the top of the forum's main page. The intention was obvious. It was to force Lu Wu to open the top-up channel quickly. However, Lu only glanced at it and continued to peel the apple calmly. He then put the apple in front of Bei Li's mouth and watched her eat it. Top up? What top up? That doesn't exist. Get to know about it. Chapter 61. The launch of the new expansion pack made the players excited again. After the maintenance ended, a large number of players poured into the game. As soon as they entered the game, the players' attention was drawn to the new cinematic image associated with the expansion pack. The words "Stormy Waves" appeared in the image in dark blue. Then, the image moved from the Mansion of the Dead to Lioli District and came to the sky above the underworld sea. The image kept moving forward. Seabirds were chirping in the sky, and fish leaped out of the water from time to time, splashing waves. Everything looked beautiful and peaceful. At this moment, the words "Void Ocean" appeared. Then, a giant black warship broke through the words and smashed into the sea, setting off huge waves. As the warship appeared, the sky was filled with lightning and thunder. A hurricane was formed, and countless sea monsters emerged from the sea. They roared at the warship and swarmed toward it. The warship, surrounded by the sea monsters, looked like it would be torn into pieces at any time. Roar! At this moment, a deafening roar came from the hull, covering the roars of the sea monsters. Then, a huge phantom of an 8-clawed monster appeared above the hull. "Mora, I'll leave it to you." On the front deck, a man in a black robe waved his hand and pointed at the densely packed sea monsters. The phantom of the giant monster called Moira turned to look at the man in the black robe. Its scarlet eyes blinked as if answering the man. Then, it left the hull and pounced on the sea monsters. The moment Moira came into contact with the sea, a huge whirlpool suddenly appeared on the sea. All the sea monsters around were pulled into it and torn into pieces. After tearing all the sea monsters into pieces, Moira waved its 8 claws and roared at the sky again. Then, its phantom body floated back to the warship and slowly faded away. At this moment, the man in the black robe walked to the edge of the ship and leaned against the railing. He looked at the sea that had been dyed red and smiled. "Moira, it's time to eat." As soon as he finished speaking, the scarlet color in the sea faded away visibly. The hull began to shine with a dark red light. The surface of the hull was even faintly wriggling, as if it was not a warship at all, but a living monster. Then, the image slowly dimmed, and a line of introduction data appeared. Moira LV-13, disaster-grade Spectre ship. A top-notch warship, Moira, that was cultivated by feeding it a large amount of blood essence of marine creatures and a large amount of spiritual materials. Attribute introduction. Hull hardness LVL-14. Sailing speed LVL-12. There are 24 levels from lowest to highest. Ability introduction. Wrath of Moira. Tyrant Strike. Sea Spirit's Blessing. Bloodthirst. Special passive. Moira's Wrath. Summons the spirit of Moira's warship for 30 minutes. Cooldown time. 1 day. Armor Strike. Increase speed by 100% for 1 minute. Increase hull hardness by 2 levels. Cooldown time, 6 hours. Sea Spirit's Blessing. Under the protection of the sea, sailing speed is increased by 30% for 3 hours. Cooldown time, 1 day. Bloodthirst, special passive. Under the captain's training, Moira has obtained a new evolutionary direction. In addition to being able to devour spiritual materials to evolve, he also has the special ability to devour the blood essence of marine creatures to evolve. Overall evaluation. Bloodthirsty evolution disaster level battleship. After that, the data slowly faded, and at the end of the screen, another line of words appeared. Would you like to own a warship that you named and nurtured yourself? Then, the sea is your ideal choice. Seeing this cinematic, the players were once again in an uproar. Lines of bullet screens flashed across the cinematic. Please teach me how to nurture a warship like Moira. I want it so much. What the F***CK? Different cultivation methods will result in different evolved abilities. This is so exciting. What if I nurture a weak warship? To reply to the person above, only a weak warship will be nurtured. My warship must be the strongest. Roar. I'll sell myself to the rich woman for money. I want to nurture a boat. I've already thought of a name for my boat. I'll call it Golden Mary. Shut up, that's my boat. Put it down. Before I gather enough soul coins to build Golden Mary, no one is allowed to use this name. Warning from his staff. I only want Moira. I've been so handsome that I cry. Knock on the table. Do you have enough soul coins? If you don't have soul coins, what are you arguing about? Although I wanted to, I cry. I want to nurture a warship with invincible defense. I've even thought of a name. Let's call it Invincible. I've fallen into a fantasy and can't extricate myself. I'm so happy. Looking at the surging waves in the cinematic, I wanted to recite a poem for everyone, but I'm uncultured. Wow, the waves are so big. Good poem. I'll give you 666. See, you're full of water. Shut up. You're even more uncultured. I feel that the price of materials is going to soar. Those who are first in the game go to the auction house to buy spiritual materials. The price will definitely go up. Hoard a wave of materials. It's time to get rich. Wait for the tycoon to buy them at a high price. Damn, why did you say it out loud? Don't you know how to make a fortune in silence? Angry. We're recruiting for a 10-man team. We're still missing 3 people. Those who have soul coins and good characters each pay 20 soul coins. Let's set sail first. As for the name of the boat, we could discuss it. Also, the captain is a beauty. The ownership of the boat has to be given to the captain. After watching the cinematic, all the players had a heated discussion about the cultivation method of the Spectre ship and the name it should be given. The launch of the new expansion pack had given the players a brand new experience and made them look forward to the future of the game. The annihilation of Chan Na's army in the Battle of Christmas allowed Lu Wu to earn a lot of soul coins. With enough soul coins, the material room and the equipment warehouse in the Mansion of the Dead were built while they were being maintained. The Spectre ship that the players saw was naturally the blueprint in the equipment warehouse, which was developed and digitized by the almighty Bei Li. It could be said that Lu Wu intended to start the main expedition in the game from both sides at the same time. After all, apart from the Rock Ghost King, the Sea King was another overlord that gave Lu Wu a headache. With the threat of the Sea King, the players were not safe in Liuli District. Therefore, Lu Wu decided to let the players develop in the ocean in advance. When the players were strong enough, the Sea King would no longer be a threat. At the same time, Lu Wu also set up a portal between the Mansion of the Dead and Liuli District for the players to travel back and forth. In the shop, apart from the most important Spectre ship, there were many new gadgets. For example, fishing gear, bait, and so on. The appearance of such gadgets excited some of the players in the game because they had learned from the official website that the spiritual fish in the underworld sea were good stuff. Because of the appearance of these new gadgets, there was a new type of lifestyle players who made a living with it. Chapter 62. After officially entering the game, all the players walked out of the Mansion of the Dead and flocked to the underworld sea. The updated announcement and the description of the underworld sea in the expansion pack made the players yearn for the sea. On the official live streaming platform, the number of viewers in one of the live streaming rooms was increasing rapidly, which piqued Lu Wu's curiosity. Build your own raft, become a fisherman, and earn soul coins to buy a boat by carrying bricks. In the live stream rooms, the 2 players personally taught the players how to build rafts. Since most players couldn't afford a Spectre boat, many of them earnestly studied and observed the process. Fortunately, the majority of the players couldn't afford a Spectre boat. They sawed trees and made wooden strips of suitable size. In the absence of hemp rope, they used vines to tie the wooden strips tightly. In less than 3 hours, the 2 players made a simple raft. Seeing the fruits of their labor, the 2 players smiled. Everyone, the first step of carrying bricks to buy a Spectre boat is completed. Now let's go to the sea. Then, the 2 players spent 10 soul coins to buy fishing gear and bait. They pushed the raft toward the underworld sea and paddled it toward the depths of the sea with wooden paddles. In the comments, it's really simple and crude. I feel like this raft will be smashed apart by a wave. Brothers, I wish you a good fishing harvest today. I'm also saving money to buy a Spectre boat. Let's work hard. I wish you a good fishing harvest, and I'll buy a spiritual fish. Actually, compared to using this raft, I think it's better to dive into the sea and catch fish. This way, we don't need to buy fishing gear, and we can save some money. Laughing emoji. What if we encounter a sea monster? Scared emoji. I'm also afraid of the deep sea. Moreover, there are sea monsters in the sea. They won't go out without a boat. Amid the cheers of the players, the player paddled toward the sea. About an hour later, the land in the distance became so small that it was almost invisible. The two players finally stopped paddling and took out their fishing gear to start fishing. As time ticked by, the fishing baskets on the players' rafts were already filled with 10 fish. Although the two players were very experienced at sea fishing, their luck wasn't very good. After spending around 2 hours, they hadn't caught a single spiritual fish. At that moment, the fishing rod trembled once more. Player Bamu's face revealed a look of anticipation as he slowly lifted the fishing rod. However, this time, it wasn't as smooth as the previous few times. The fish that bit the hook seemed to be very ferocious. It struggled madly with great strength. Seeing this scene, many of the spectating players realized that they might really be getting lucky this time. On the other hand, Bamu's face was also filled with joy. However, his joy only lasted for a few seconds before he lost his composure. This was because the strength of the fish's struggle was too great. No matter how hard he tried, he could not lift it up, and the wooden raft began to slide rapidly away from the force. "Brother, give me a hand. We've got a big one." Bamu could not take it anymore in the face of such an intense struggle and quickly called for help from his companions. Then, the two of them exerted all their strength and held on tightly to the fishing rod. They leaned back and competed with the fish in terms of willpower. Offstage, 2333, the live version of The Old Man and the Sea. "You must have caught a shark this time. If you continue to float like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to find your way home, brother. Come on, hold on, it's a ghost ship. Fantasize about the beautiful future. Hang in there. Maybe it's a small sea monster." Laughing emoji. "I bet it's a spiritual fish." In this competition of willpower, it was obvious that Bamu and his companions were no match for the fish monster at the bottom of the sea. At that moment, their faces were already red from holding on, and their hands that were holding on to the fishing rod were trembling. Faced with this situation, Bamu gritted his teeth and spent 2 soul coins to purchase 2 bottles of endurance potions from the shop. After taking turns to consume the potions, they began to compete again. After drinking the potions, the two of them finally felt a little better. However, the competition of strength was not over yet. They continued to float like this, and the land in the distance could no longer be seen. Apart from the directions on the map, the two of them were a little confused as to where they were. This protracted battle lasted for more than 5 hours. Many players had finished their meals and returned to find that the two of them were still competing with the fish monster. Just as the two of them were about to break down and give up, the fishing rod suddenly lost its strength, and the two of them almost fell back into the sea. Just as the two of them were confused about what was going on, a big red fish leaped out of the sea, splashing waves that sparkled brilliantly in the sunlight, and then fell back into the sea again. The two of them quickly pulled on the fishing rod again, and at the same time, their faces were filled with ecstasy. This was because the moment the big fish leaped out of the water, they saw the attributes of the fish. Red fruit fish, sea spirit level. A sea spirit level fish with a docile personality. Consumption can increase random attributes by 10 to 30 points, and there is a small probability of learning the ability of the sea. Note, can be sold in the shop for 200 soul coins. In the comments, what the F asterisk CK, you're rich, you're rich. What the F asterisk CK, you guys actually caught a sea spirit level fish. Luckily, it's a docile type, or else I'm afraid you guys won't be able to defeat it. Laughing emoji. What the hell is that comment under the attributes? Can be sold in the shop. IF asterisk king regretted selling my netherworld pearl to the shop so much. You know, the market price is 150 soul coins now. I agree, I didn't know about it before, but it's a big loss to sell in the shop. I'll pay 250 for this fish. Sell it to me. Sell it to me. I'll take it for 300. Sell it to the Myth Guild. Our president's soul coins are useful, but you can buy it with cash. You name the price. Seeing that it was a sea spirit level spiritual fish, the comment section was suddenly in an uproar, and everyone started bidding for it. This made Bamu and his partner full of fighting spirit again, and they secretly swore that they must get this red fruit fish. Although it was a docile type, the strength of a sea spirit level red fruit fish was too strong, and it was still very difficult for the two of them to deal with it. However, as time passed, the strength of the red fruit fish finally began to weaken, and the speed of the raft's drift slowed down, and the force exerted on the fishing rod also began to decrease. This gave the two of them hope, and they quickly began to pull the fishing rod, trying to pull the red fruit fish onto the raft. Just as they expected, other than a few sudden bursts of strength during the pull, the red fruit fish was obviously exhausted, and its resistance was getting weaker and weaker. With victory in sight, a smile appeared on Moo and his partner's faces. However, the moment the red fruit fish was about to be pulled out of the water, a huge black shadow with an area of 1,000 meters suddenly appeared under the raft. Moreover, this huge black shadow quickly floated up on the live broadcast screen, and all the players watching the live broadcast held their breath. The moment the red fruit fish was pulled out of the water, a huge bloody mouth suddenly appeared from the bottom of the water. It swallowed the red fruit fish and the raft at the same time. The two players suddenly lost their balance, and they frantically tried to grab at the surroundings, but they immediately felt a domineering force filling their bodies, and their bodies were instantly torn apart. Chapter 63. Even through the live stream, the players could feel the domineering pressure. It's just a sea spirit. Believe it or not, I can fight with him for one round. Crayon Shin-chan, brother, do you want revenge? These two brothers are really lucky to have encountered the most powerful creature in the void ocean the first time they went out to sea. It's a pity that they lost their crimson fruit fish and their boat was destroyed. The appearance of this post instantly caused an uproar in the entire forum. All the players were attracted by the post. Holy sh**t. What kind of monster is this? I think it's at least 10,000 meters long. This is 2F** king scary. However, there was only motivation when there was a challenge. Faced with such a strong opponent, the players swore that they would kill him one day and share the flesh of the sea spirit together. Comments. Crayon_Shinchan replied to the most handsome Yi-chan. Brother Yi, you've been too full of yourself lately. Laughing emoji. By the way, at everyone, promise me that you won't be a bootlicker, okay? Laughing emoji. Watermelon_Taro. I'm in the front row eating watermelons. Also, congratulations, brother, for successfully fishing up the ocean spirit. At that moment, the players watching the live stream finally saw the true face of the monster. I believe the one above. Will he be eaten in one round? Laughing emoji. What the F***CK? I used to fantasize that I would be lucky enough to catch a spiritual fish at the level of the sea spirit and make a fortune. Is this even possible? I'm F***king drunk. Shuali_the_strongest. Is this the OP? Hug me and don't cry. The red fruit fish has already been buried in the stomach of the venomous centipede. Oh my god. I thought I was watching a giant monster disaster movie. These two are so lucky. The first was a spirit sea fish, and the second was a top-tier spirit sea realm. Terrifying. Terrifying. Damn, it's huge. This monster is too big. I feel like it could swallow a dozen cha-chas in one bite. Soon, a message was posted on the forum, and a group of people gathered around. As the beast dived into the water, a message appeared. Shueli_the_strongest replied to most_handsome_Yi-chan. Of course it can be killed. Our boss Yi-chun is a headwind divine weapon. What's one Tao Wu to you? Offstage. Watermelon Taro replied to Moo. I've saved your live broadcast video. Watch it yourself. Laughing emoji. Video attachment. Challenge accepted. My infernal battleship has already aimed its main cannon at it. So this is the level of the sea spirit. I'm so scared. Demon Dragon Skeleton. Incomplete. The skeleton of the Heaven Spirit level Ocean Beast, Ink Dragon. It can be used to create purple weapons and armor. Crayon Shin-chan, everyone. Rub the heads of all the dogs upstairs. Laughing emoji. Cultivating Tao to live forever. Really? What a terrifying vicious beast. I reckon that this vicious beast is not far from becoming a god. Yeah, when he was swallowed, he seemed to have grabbed something. It seems like he obtained something incredible. Everyone, take a look. This is the first time it has appeared. Let's estimate its value. What the F asterisk CK? Don't compare this level of ferocious beast to Chana. It's too fierce. What happened? Where's my spirit sea fish? He is dumbfounded. Even Lu Wu and Bei Li were astonished by Tao Wu's appearance. I think the red berry fish must have attracted Tao Wu. Or maybe it was hungry and swallowed these two brothers. I can only say that it's extremely lucky. There was a picture at the bottom of the post. A light blue vertebra the length of an arm appeared before the eyes of the players. There was also a screenshot of its attributes. Strike gold. I.O. Congratulations, brother. We've witnessed Tao Wu's magnificence. Handsome. All the players who were watching the live stream were shocked as they stared at the dark screen, selling in the shop for 800 soul coins. However, the players' shock was not over yet. 3 hours later, Ba Mu logged into the game at the resurrection point of the Mansion of the Dead. Then, he opened another post in the forum. Tao Wu's size alone gave people great pressure, not to mention its strength that it had yet to show. All the players felt that they were no match for such a powerful king of the ocean. Ba Mu replied to watermelon_taro. I'm asking about the spirit sea fish? Don't bullsh asterisk teamy. Assassin_Creed replied to the most handsome Yi Chun. Brother Yezero is unstoppable. Tao Wu, spirit of the ocean? You can shoot the sun down and kick it like a ball. I'm shocked. Details? Unable to identify. A_Mammoth replied to the most handsome Yi Chun. It's worth killing. Brother Yi Chun is the strongest. Ba Mu, I've finished watching the video. What the F asterisk CK? That Tao Wu is too cruel. Give me back my Hongwa fish, sad emoji. The most handsome Yi Chun. Can I kill it with one arrow? I'm scared out of my wits. If I manage to catch this spirit of the ocean, I'm guessing even a battleship of Moira's level will be killed in seconds. Of course we can. Why not? Didn't you see that our two friends managed to catch it? But at a great cost, laughing emoji. This could only be said to be a coincidence among coincidences. This overlord that lived tens of thousands of meters under the sea of the void ocean all year round happened to come to the surface to hunt for food. It even ate 2 players who were fishing it. One could only say that it was extremely lucky. Seeing the content of the video, many players who were not watching the live stream were also shocked. All the players began to discuss the strength of Tao Wu in the forum. Ding! Congratulations, brothers. You've successfully obtained the achievement of Spirit of the Ocean. Congratulations. Congratulations. Invincible_loneliness. Just now, many people in the guild asked me to watch your live stream. They said that there's something good and they wanted me to buy it. Then, I saw that scene when I entered the live stream room. I'm speechless. The head that was just above the water surface had a diameter of 1,000 meters. In the center of the tiger-like head, there was the word King flashing in red. The part of its body that was above the water surface was covered with dark brown scales that reflected light. Is this the overlord of the void ocean? The Sea King's direct superior? F***CK. It's too difficult to conquer the sea. Tao Wu, overlord of the void ocean. The top king of the ocean that has ruled the void ocean for tens of thousands of years. Its strength has reached the level of the spirit of the ocean. Oh my God, we've caught the highest level of the spirit of the ocean. Chapter 64. The players were envious and jealous that Ba Mu could obtain such a treasure even after his death. However, the players' enthusiasm to explore the void ocean was also aroused. There was even a saying in the forum, "Do you want a treasure? Let's set sail." Within a few days, there were more than 100 guild-level warships and tens of thousands of small specter ships. The marine power of the Baiki army was gradually forming a scale. On this day, the official website of Battle Online released another notice that attracted the attention of all the players. New Year's Eve event notice. To thank the players for their continuous support of the game will launch a special event during the New Year's Eve. Players who perform well during the event will receive special rewards. During the 3-day event, all players will earn 10% more from killing monsters. This event is divided into 3 major events. Event 1, New Year's Eve Fishing Competition, first day. This event will be launched on New Year's Eve. Before the event starts, players can find a navigator at the Lioli coast to sign up for this event. After the event officially starts, any fish caught by the players will receive corresponding points for the event. The players who ranked in the top 1,000 would receive a level 20 red quality weapon or armor that belonged to their class, optional. The top 100 would receive 200 soul coins as a reward. The top 10 would receive 300 soul coins as a reward. The top 3 would receive 500 soul coins as a reward, and the champion would receive 1,000 soul coins, as well as the title of New Year's Star. Details of the points for the fish in this event. Ordinary fish points, 1 point. Spirit fish points, 50 points. Sea spirit fish points, 500 points. Psychic fish points, 4,000 points. Sky spirit fish points, 80,000 points. Sea spirit fish points, advance to champion. Special fish points, 1,000, 80,000 points. The players were very excited when they saw this event. However, when they saw the points for each fish, they could not stay calm anymore. Shueli _the strongest. Clench your fist. R&D, come out for a moment. Here's your fishing rod. Show me how to catch a sea spirit, Tao Wu. Crayon _Shinchan. Covering face, this is too much. Even the sea spirit is included. Who can catch it? I'll eat XX live. Strike gold. I feel that the sea spirit level is already our limit. If we were a team, we would at most be able to deal with the spirit channeling level. But does this sea spirit want us to risk our lives to fish for it? Invincible _loneliness. Oh, that's interesting. On the day of the event, I'll go fishing in my black pearl. Watermelon _Taro replied to invincible _loneliness. Boss, bring one along. I don't have a ship or a battleship. I'm afraid I won't be able to catch any fish at the beach. Cultivating longevity. I haven't gone fishing for more than 60 years. I miss it, soda water. You guys are finished. I'm going to summon my grandpa, who's addicted to fishing. He's a master at fishing. Crayon _Shinchan replied to soda water. What the hell? Grandpa is going to go on stage? So awesome. Soda water replied to Crayon _Shinchan. Not only my grandpa, but my parents also love fishing. Let's all go. Cool. Activity 2. New Year's Day Treasure Hunt, Day 2. During the event period, the Mansion of the Dead and Lioli regions will randomly spawn New Year's Day vouchers every 10 minutes. All players are required to search for the vouchers in these 2 regions during the event period. The vouchers can be exchanged for rewards at the NPC, Festival Messenger. The list of rewards is as follows. 1 New Year's Day certificate. 10 health potions, 5 New Year's Day certificates. A random level 30 blue weapon. 20 New Year's Day certificates. A random level 30 red weapon. 50 New Year's Day certificates. A level 50 skill book of this character class. 100 New Year's Day certificates. Event title, New Year's Star. New Year's Star, blue title. Wearing this title can increase the character's movement speed by 10%. 300 New Year's Day certificates. Inherited character class, Ghost Beast. Seeing the second activity, the forum was once again filled with discussions. Strike _gold. I want to ask if the New Year's Day certificates can be traded. This is very important. Invincible _loneliness. If it can be traded, I will collect the New Year's Day certificates on the day of the event. On that day, I will stand beside the event ambassador and accept cash. Crayon _Shinchan. Damn it. Tycoon players, don't even think about being presumptuous. Wait until I gather 300 vouchers and get the inheritance first. Shueli _the strongest. I don't think it can be traded. It's time to depend on luck. Shueli, don't ask for anything else. I just want the title of New Year's Star. For now on, call me Sister Shueli with fast steps. Yi _the most handsome. Can I leave it to fate? Watermelon _Taro replied to Yi the most handsome. Please don't leave it to fate. It's too scary. If you do this, our gaming experience will be very bad. Yi _Schwer cutie. You have already changed your character class to Cursed Apostle. Let's just get the title. Activity 3. Great price reduction in the shop, Day 3. On the 3rd day of the New Year's Day event, all items in the shop will be reduced by 10%. This event will last for 1 hour. Players, Please make your purchases as soon as possible. These 3 activities were the New Year's Day celebration activities that Lu Wu had created for the players. As for the 3rd activity, it was added by Lu Wu to recover his health. Obviously, he had to spend a lot of money on the players for the first 2 activities. On the 3rd day, due to the 10% discount, there would be a large number of players who would seize the time to purchase items. By then, the expenses would naturally return to him. There was a saying that went, "Wool comes from the sheep's back." As a person who had the highest authority, Lu Wu understood this principle very well. The players were looking forward to the launch of the activity. They were rubbing their palms together and discussing how to show off their skills during the event. The forum was bustling with activity again. Shueli_the strongest. It's 10% off. My cute little boat has been built. Strike_gold. I'm looking forward to it. Brothers of the Great Dragon Guild. Let's do our best during the event and get the first place. I'm Berserker. The event is quite exciting, but what about the top-up channel that we're looking forward to the most? Who deleted the post written in blood? Come out now. I'll wring your neck. Crayon_Shinchan. Yeah, I suddenly remembered that the top-up channel has not been opened yet. Does this game want to go bankrupt? The boss uses love to generate electricity? Using love to pay wages? _Mammoth. Brothers, let's create another post. We need to tell them righteously that we are strong. Strong. Want. Beg. Open. Top up. Top up. Worth it. Invincible_loneliness. Agreed. How can you become stronger without top up? It's wrong for your game to do this. It's against the rules of the industry. What would the ancestor of top up, Elderma, think about it? Crayon_Shinchan replied to invincible_loneliness. I think Elderma will crawl out and beat up the boss of Battle Online, telling him that top-up is the way to become stronger. Laughing emoji. Lu Wu read the comments for a while and smiled indifferently. He conveniently deleted the post that had just been created and was being upvoted crazily. Chapter 65. In the depths of the lush forest in the North Rocks, an ancient giant tree was slowly twisting its body. The branches on its body suddenly danced like spiritual snakes. Chana is dead? The new force of the Mansion of the Dead? Is the news reliable? A crack appeared on the ancient tree, and a deep voice came from inside. Lord Rock, Ghost King, I've investigated and the news is true. Liuli District has also been occupied by these new forces. The Iron Zombie Commander below replied. When we were discussing the division of the territory, we chose to hand over Liuli District to him. I knew that he would be destroyed because of this. However, I didn't expect that he would not be defeated by the Sea King, but by the foreign forces. What a coward! The Rock Ghost King said as he shook his body. The ground suddenly began to shake and the soil under his body was lifted up. Lord Rock Ghost King, should we start a war with the Mansion of the Dead? These outsiders are of unknown origin and are a great threat. The Iron Zombie Commander asked subconsciously. No, as you said, these forces are of unknown origin. It's better not to start a war. Don't let other forces reap the benefits. Then what if they come to attack? Upon hearing that, the Rock Ghost King burst into laughter. His deafening laughter shook the surrounding trees. He then looked at the Iron Zombie Commander. I'm not Chana, in this land of Beiki, except for that old corpse in the burial ground, who has the confidence to fight against my tree demon army in my territory. As he spoke, the Rock Ghost King seemed to have thought of something and looked at the Iron Zombie Commander again. By the way, what's the situation with the Wood Spirit clan? The Iron Zombie Commander was stunned for a moment, and then replied, they are stubborn and still refuse to submit to Lord Rock Ghost King. My patience has run out. I, the Rock Ghost King, have given the Wood Spirit clan a lot of face. However, since they don't want it, I shall exterminate their clan. As the Rock Ghost King spoke, the trees in the entire forest began to twist and wave. Looking from above, it looked like a group of demons were dancing. Before the New Year's event started, the players still chose to level up and fight monsters. After all, there were only a few players who had enough soul coins to build their own Spectre ship. At this moment, several hundred players had gathered at the entrance of the Ghost Mountains. These players wore grim expressions as they looked at the several dozen figures before them. The dozens of figures that were surrounded all had human appearances and were very handsome. It could be said that they completely met the standards of human beauty. However, the players knew that they were not players from their own faction because they all had light green long hair and dark green eyes. They were obviously outsiders. Wood Spirit Race, a humanoid race that has mastered the way of the wood spirits. Adult wood spirits have special abilities such as growth, healing, and protection. Wood Spirit Clan? Boss, should we kill them? Asked a man with a staff in his hand. The man who was called the boss didn't reply. Instead, he looked at the members of the Wood Spirit Clan who were surrounded. Hey, what are you doing in the Mansion of the Dead? Don't you know that this is the territory of the Bakey army? The members of the Wood Spirit Clan, who had been resolute and determined to resist to the death, were stunned when they heard this. A handsome man from the Wood Spirit Clan walked out from the team with a longbow on his back. He glanced at the crowd and then looked at the leader of the Demolition Guild, Lu Chai. You said that you were the Bakey army? Nonsense, if I'm not the Bakey army, who else could it be? Lu Chai glared at him. As far as I know, the Bakey army of the Lord King of Bakey has been shattered. Why does the Bakey army still exist? The man from the Wood Spirit Clan looked very surprised. There are millions of descendants of Bakey. How can the Bakey army fall? Lu Chai glared at him again. Tell me, where are you from? What are you doing here? If it weren't for your human form, my brothers and I would have already killed you. Hearing that Lu Chai was about to attack, the man panicked a little. We are the Wood Spirit Clan, a medical clan appointed by the King of Bakey. Appointed by the King of Bakey? Lu Chai was a little confused. Then, the man from the Wood Spirit Clan told them about how his clan was besieged in the North Rocks after the death of the King of Bakey. They refused to submit to the Rock Ghost King's summon and were eventually exterminated. Only a few dozen of them managed to escape. Hearing the description of the man from the Wood Spirit Clan, the players on the scene were stunned. So they are our allies? Could it be that the Rock Ghost King sent them to investigate us? I think it's better to be cautious and kill them. I don't know if they are trustworthy. Let's go and ask the NPCs, they should know. The players of the Demolition Guild started discussing among themselves. Stop arguing. Since you say that you are our allies, I don't believe you. How about this? You come with me and ask the butler of the Mansion of the Dead. If he says that you are, then you can stay in the Mansion of the Dead. If not, then the butler of the Mansion of the Dead? The man from the Wood Spirit Clan was stunned again. After being in Bakey for so many years, they had never seen the force in front of them. Moreover, since when did the Mansion of the Dead have a butler? However, the situation was pressing. The man from the Wood Spirit Clan looked at the remaining clansmen with a hint of sadness in his eyes and chose to compromise. Therefore, the weapons of the dozens of clansmen from the Wood Spirit Clan were confiscated by the Demolition Guild and escorted to the center of the Mansion of the Dead. Luwu had naturally noticed this and asked Bailey about it. However, Bailey was also very surprised by the existence of the Wood Spirit Clan. In her opinion, the forces that were loyal to the King of Bakey should have been destroyed by the rebel army. She did not expect the Wood Spirit Clan to still exist. I think I know the reason. It must be the uniqueness of the Wood Spirit Clan. Bailey raised her head and said after thinking for a moment, Uniqueness. Yes, the Wood Spirit Clan is different from other combat clans. They are a supportive clan with weak combat power, but they have healing and restoration abilities. Obviously, the Rock Ghost King took this clan away and wanted to take them in for his own use to improve the combat power of his forces. However, he obviously did not succeed. After Luwu knew that the Wood Spirit Clan was indeed loyal, he gave a new order to the butler in advance before the arrival of the Demolition Guild and the others. When the Demolition Guild members arrived and saw the butler suddenly looked at the people of the Wood Spirit Clan who were surrounded in the middle. You're not dead. The people of the Wood Spirit Clan? You are really blessed by the King of Bakey. I didn't expect you to escape the siege of the rebel army and survive, the butler said with tears in his eyes. The members of the Wood Spirit Clan? At this moment, they were dumbfounded. They had no idea who this emotional old man in front of them was. He seems to be very familiar with us. Chapter 66. After asking the butler, the players found out that these Wood Spirit Clan members were indeed allies. This made the players let down their guard and initiated a conversation with the Wood Spirit Clan. The Wood Spirit clan was curious about these players who claimed to be the descendants of Baki and was happy to communicate with them. However, the more they talked, the more confused they became. The Wood Spirit clan almost thought that they had traveled to the Mansion of the Dead in a parallel dimension. The Mansion of the Dead that the players mentioned was not the Mansion of the Dead that they knew. For example, when the players said that the king of Baki died together with the Black Dragon King, the Wood Spirit clan was confused. They did not even know who the Black Dragon King was, but it sounded like he was very powerful. The Wood Spirit clan was also confused about Lu Mo, the Fat Chef, and the others. The more they talked, the more they doubted themselves. They did not know whether they were fake or the players were fake. However, when they heard that the players united and killed Cha Na after a night of hard work, the Wood Spirit clan had a thought. These people are really good at bragging. They don't even blink. The Wood Spirit clan even suspected that these players would blow their own trumpet if they did not stop them. In their opinion, although Cha Na was weaker than the other Ghost Kings and Ghost Generals, he should not be this weak. However, this doubt turned into shock when they saw Cha Na's head hanging on the wall of the Mansion of the Dead. Only then did they realize that these guys were really strong. Soon, the appearance of the Wood Spirit clan was exposed in the forum. Many curious players came from all directions to see the Wood Spirit clan. The friendliness of the players made the Wood Spirit clan lower their guard, and they began to blend in with the players. However, the girls from the Wood Spirit clan suddenly felt uncomfortable with the players' enthusiasm. They felt that the players who approached them seemed to have ulterior motives. In the forum, Kindred Spirit, what a beautiful and gentle lady from the Wood Spirit clan. A possibility suddenly appeared in my mind. Assassin's Creed replied to everyone in the channel, "Impossible, the ladies are very kind, don't even think about hitting on them." Shiwili _the strongest. The guys from the Wood Spirit clan are also very handsome. It's a pity that I have a boyfriend, so I can only look at them. Millennial Cold Iron. I was injured when I leveled up in the Ghost Mountains. Then I met the ladies from the Wood Spirit clan, and they treated my injuries very politely. I feel like I'm in love. Shy. Slime _king. Indeed, 2D beauties are the real beauties. My otaku soul is burning. Let me reserve one in advance. Crayon Shinchan. I seem to smell a thick stench of an otaku. Laughing emoji. Watermelon _Taro replied to Crayon _Shinchan. You should be the most talkative person in this forum. Crayon Shinchan replied to Watermelon _Taro. Hee. Laughing emoji. Prandle. I'm taking the Wood Spirit clan ladies out to the sea to watch the sunrise and sunset. We'll enjoy the beautiful sunset together. Crayon Shinchan replied to Prandle. I suspect that your ellipses are hiding important information. Whatever. I'll report you first. Laughing emoji. Lu Wu welcomed the arrival of the Wood Spirit clan. He asked the butler to arrange an area at the border between the Mansion of the Dead and Liuli as their new territory. In Bei Li's opinion, the Wood Spirit clan was loyal to the king of Baki. Moreover, they had excellent abilities and could play the role of military doctors during battles. They were also very helpful to the players. As for the fact that the Wood Spirit clan had a different understanding of the history of Baki from the players, Lu Wu asked the butler to find the Wood Spirit clan and bring them all to the Mansion of the Dead. He made them recite the Oath of Allegiance to the artifact prepared by Bei Li under the pretext of swearing never to betray the statue of the King of Baki. After the artifact received the Oath of Allegiance from the Wood Spirit clan, they were directly sent into the artifact to undergo slight modifications in their memories, turning them into new alternative NPCs. As for the so-called Bubble Wood Spirit clan ladies and gentlemen, Lu Wu did not care about them. Anyway, he had set up a contact protection in the game. Unless they were willing, it was impossible to do so. This contact protection setting was suggested by Lu Wu and set up by Bei Li. At first, it was set up for the safety of the players. Later, it was added to protect the NPCs. Only when the intimacy level reached 100 could they do intimate things. Lu Wu also used the artifact to put the Wood Spirit clan on the protection list. Unless they were willing, the players could not cross the line. During this period, the Wood Spirit clan quickly integrated into the player community. From their point of view, the players should be a group of combat personnel with special racial talents that the king of Baki had secretly trained. However, when the players' immortal talents were revealed in front of them for the first time, they were still shocked. This was because even if these creatures were to die, they would be able to recover to their original state within 3 hours. This kind of terrifying ability scared the hell out of them. Only then did they know how these creatures, who claimed to be the descendants of the king of Baki and also called themselves players, defeated Cha-Na. At the same time, they also had the absurd feeling of riding on their coattails. However, the underworld was boundless and full of strange things. After interacting with the players for a long time, the Wood Spirit clan became used to it. At the same time, they relied on their racial talents to become the players' medical aid station. In the beginning, when they encountered players who were poisoned by eating random food or who were seriously injured, they would panic and give emergency treatment to the injured players. However, after interacting with them for a long time and getting used to it, the Wood Spirit clan gradually calmed down, even calmer than the players. When they encountered those who were seriously injured, they would even say a few words that they learned from the players. "Brother, what are you afraid of? You'll still be a man in 3 hours. Your injuries can't be cured. The earlier you die, the earlier you can go online, the better. Hey, brother over there, your injuries are too troublesome. Why don't you die first and free up a bed for the brother who will come later? Brother over there, your injuries look a little scary. Why don't we stop wasting time and let you die first?" The players were stunned by the changes of the Wood Spirit clan. However, the estrangement between them had dissipated because of this, and they even began to call the players brothers. The Wood Spirit clan also had another racial specialty, which was wine. The spiritual wine produced by the Wood Spirit clan tasted mellow and had the effect of restoring HP. Moreover, it was not intoxicating, so it was very popular among the players. There were often players who went to the Wood Spirit clan to gain favor, but in reality, they were just begging for wine. After interacting with the players for a long time, the character of the Wood Spirit clan was gradually influenced. From time to time, they would blurt out some online slang. This change made Lu Wu dumbfounded. Indeed, the environment determined one's character. The Wood Spirit clan was an easygoing and elegant race that stood aloof from worldly affairs. They could not escape the fate of being contaminated when they were thrown into the big vat of dye that was the players. The title of the fourth natural disaster was not just for show. Chapter 67. It was New Year's Eve. Countless players walked out of the Mansion of the Dead and headed to the Underworld Coast in Liuli District. That was also the place where the event would begin. As night fell, the coast was filled with ships and rafts of all sizes. There were even more people on the shore. All the players were rubbing their fists and waiting for the event to begin. They were ready to sail to the sea and compete with each other. Lu Wu, who was already well prepared, began to take action. He condensed a giant clock above the sea. The event is about to begin. All players, please get ready. Players who leave the coast and enter the sea before the event begins will be disqualified. While the clock was counting down, countless colorful fireworks exploded above the entire coastline, illuminating the sky. Then, the countdown bell rang. Dong, dong, 10, 9, 8, 7, 1. At the end of the countdown, the game notification rang again. The New Year's Day event officially begins. The duration is 6 hours. All the fish caught within this time period will be rewarded with points. The fishing Grand Prix officially begins. Looking at the sky full of fireworks, all the players cheered. Then, they set sail with their companions and advanced toward the direction of the bright moon hanging high above the sea. Many players who didn't have a guild ship or ship started to follow with their small rafts. This event greatly stimulated the enthusiasm of the players because this event didn't require the players to be strong, only how good their luck was. However, since many players had seen Ba Mu's fishing videos, they basically acted in small groups. After all, it was difficult for one person to catch a spiritual fish of a higher grade alone. If there were more people, they could take care of each other. As for the players who didn't have a specter ship or a raft, they surrounded the shore and fished. Although the probability of getting a spiritual fish was relatively low, it depended entirely on luck. Perhaps they could still get a generous reward by the shore. The players' New Year's Day event not only attracted all the players, even the Wood Spirit clan came out of curiosity. When they saw the fireworks exploding in the sky and the cheers of the players, they smiled. To them, this was some kind of celebration ceremony for the players. They joined in out of curiosity and watched the players fishing. They even enthusiastically set up a grilled fish stall by the shore and made a grilled fish feast for the players who were fishing for free. After the first player caught a fish, the Guild Point leaderboard appeared. All players could see the translucent Guild Point panel hovering in the upper right corner of the screen, displaying their current ranking. There was also an event chat box below the ranking template. It was an area where players could communicate with other participants. About half an hour later, hundreds of Guild-level Spectre warships sailed into the Void Ocean. After entering the area, they dispersed and chose a spot to start fishing. Basically, the scoreboard was changing every second, and the rankings were constantly changing. At this stage, it was impossible to tell who was in first place. At the edge of a cliff on the coastline, a bald man was holding a fishing rod in his right hand and a bottle of Wood Spirit wine, which he had asked for from the Wood Spirit race, in his left hand. From time to time, he would leisurely take a sip of the wine and, at the same time, he would stare at the water surface with bright eyes. Sure did not think that he would be able to get into the top few in the fishing Grand Prix. He was a crude person and did not know how to fish. He was also clumsy when it came to fighting monsters. As for participating in the Grand Prix, it was purely because he thought it was fun. Therefore, he did not choose to join a team. Instead, he found a remote cliff alone to look at the moon, enjoy the sea breeze, and fish. As for what he would catch, Sure was looking forward to it very much. He was looking forward to sending the fish to the shore for his brothers from the Wood Spirit race to make them into delicacies. It was not about the competition points. In his opinion, he was just a salted fish. Ranking and rewards did not exist. What was important was to eat and drink well. Sure found an excuse for this salted fish mentality. He called himself a life player. Fighting and killing were too bloody. Living a carefree life was the taste of life. Thinking of this, Sure fished calmly while enjoying the sea breeze. He did not feel nervous at all like the other participants. And he was quite lucky. In less than 2 hours, he had caught 3 fish, 3 sea turtles, and a big lobster. Glancing at the fish basket, Sure was ready to fish another one and send it to the Wood Spirit Race's barbecue stall. Then, he swung his fishing rod and waited patiently again. At that moment, he heard the sound of an in-game notification. At the same time, a line of red words appeared on the upper right corner of the board. Congratulations to player Sun Chi for fishing up a Razor Fong fish, Sea Spirit level. You have gained 500 points and are now ranked second. At the same time as the notification appeared, a picture appeared in the active chat box. A little white dog was happily holding a fish that was even bigger than its body in its mouth. There was even a paragraph below. The dog is really lucky. He actually got a spiritual fish from the sea. The Myth Guild blesses him. Sure calmly swept his gaze over them and continued to admire the moonlight. Congratulations to player Meng Xiaochun for fishing up a Blood Spirit fish, Sea Spirit level. You have gained 500 points and your ranking has jumped to 3rd place. Another notification appeared, causing Sure to sigh. He looked at the sea and couldn't help but mutter, "Endless European dogs, endless African tears. I curse you Europeans to be single forever." After saying this, Sure felt the fishing rod tremble slightly. Realizing that the fish had taken the bait, he no longer distracted himself and began to pull the fishing rod. Just as he thought, it was easy to lift the rod, so it was obvious that it wasn't anything good. However, after lifting the fishing rod, Sure was dumbfounded. What was this? There was a strange fish with a dragon head and a fishtail hanging on the fishing hook. This stunned him for a while, and then the artifact analyzed it. However, when he saw the attributes that were analyzed, Sure eyes widened. At the same time, a server announcement was released. Congratulations to player Sure for fishing up a special fish, AOU, Sea Spirit level. You have gained 1,000 points and your ranking has jumped to 1st place. AOU, Sea Spirit level. According to legend, in ancient times, golden and silver carps wanted to jump over the dragon gate, fly into the clouds, and ascend to the sky to become dragons. However, the heavenly gate closed the moment they jumped over the dragon gate. They could only turn into a fish body with a dragon head, and they were called AOU. The male AOU had golden scales and gourd tails, while the female AOU had silver scales and hibiscus tails. They roamed the sea and played all day long. This fish is a branch of the AOU's descendants, and its bloodline is not pure. Note, this fish's bloodline is not pure. Although it is a special fish, it can be classified as a sea spirit level. The conversion points are still the lowest for special, 1,000 points. Looking at the AOU in his hand, Sherhu fell into a daze. He accidentally became a lucky king. Can I take back what I said just now? Chapter 68. Right after that, Sherhu shamelessly sent the screenshot to the event chat. On the coast, countless players sat together, sharing the day's harvest and bragging about what they saw and heard at sea. The coast of Liuli district was in full swing. Everyone was staring at their fishing rods, looking forward to the next spiritual fish. Digested the turtle fish. Obtained 15 free attribute points. The lady from the Wood Spirit clan nodded adorably. She was still a little surprised that such a sea spirit level turtle fish was gone just like that. 5th place. Feng Xiaoxin, any player who had tasted the spiritual fish would be conquered by its extreme deliciousness. The fishing Grand Prix continued. There were endless announcements, which further stimulated the player's desire for the spiritual fish. Sherhu was shocked by the extreme taste buds. He glanced at the scoreboard and found that his name was already listed first. The corner of his mouth twitched. Thinking of his curse just now, he suddenly did not know whether to laugh or cry. 2nd place. Sherhu in the void ocean. Although the shoals of fish increased, there were still sea beasts appearing occasionally. Rubbing his stomach, Lu Wu was already thinking about how to kidnap a few more spiritual fish from the players. 4th place. Sun Chi, little white dog. Selling? It was impossible for him to sell. Although he was not very rich in reality, he still had more than a dozen houses for rent. He did not have to worry about food and clothing. Playing games was for fun, so money was not an issue for him. Thus, the first sea spirit level fish was placed on the barbecue stall. Some players even posted a funny photo of fishing the sea monster on the activity chat box. The whole game was filled with joy and harmony during the festival. After posting the photo, Sherhu sat down at the barbecue stall and ate while reading the grumpy players' replies in the chat box. Looking at the activity chat box that was still filled with questions about the price, Sherhu thought for a while and chuckled. He put the cooked turtle fish that was stuck on a tree branch to his mouth and opened the screenshot. 3rd place. Yi Jingjing, even if they could not get the spiritual fish, as long as they could get on the leaderboard, they would at least get an ordinary spiritual fish's worth of equipment and weapons. All the players were eager to be the lucky ones. Although the players were unfamiliar with sea battles, they still enjoyed it, laughing and fooling around. Waves of small sea battles were happening in the void ocean. For a warship like the Spectre warship that had the ability to repair itself, ordinary collisions would not affect it much at all. After the event officially ended, all the ships began to return one after another. As for the Wood Spirit clan's barbecue stalls along the coast, they were overcrowded and couldn't accommodate any more players. Many smart players also learned from the Wood Spirit clan and set up barbecue stalls. However, they weren't as enthusiastic as the Wood Spirit clan. They paid for their services and earned quite a lot of soul coins. Gotcha. However, in this increasingly indifferent society, this kind of sincere and unrestrained feeling in the game made them feel very comfortable and nostalgic. After eating the spiritual fish, Sherhu was completely conquered by the taste buds that he couldn't experience in reality. However, after eating a few mouthfuls, Sherhu's eyes widened. When they encountered small sea monsters, none of these large guilds were afraid. They directly drove their specter ships and rammed into them. I heard you're looking for it? It tastes pretty good. After eating the whole spiritual fish, Bailey did not feel anything, but Lu Wu's face was flushed. He felt a warm current flowing through his body, making him feel comfortable. He didn't even plan to continue with the seafood feast that he was originally planning to eat. This time, he planned to go to the beach to try his luck. Maybe today would be his lucky day. He felt that he had never eaten such delicious food before. At the same time, he continued to eat and only realized that he had finished eating when he was chewing on a branch. The game notification appeared. Sure threw the branch away and exhaled a ball of hot air from his mouth. At this moment, he felt comfortable all over, and his desire for the spiritual fish grew stronger. Sure was dumbfounded as he looked at the seemingly weak AOU in his hand, which flicked and flicked. The spiritual fish tasted silky and tender. As soon as it entered his mouth, it melted into shreds of meat. The rich fragrance filled his mouth and nose, making him feel as if all the pores on his body were relaxing along with the fragrance. The sea breeze blew gently. Everyone was waiting for the arrival of dawn in a drunken manner in the dark night of New Year's Day. The New Year's fishing competition has ended. The rankings are as follows. If it were them, they would definitely use it to make elixirs or raise it to see if there was a way to cultivate it. Talking loudly, drinking big mouthfuls of wine, talking freely, PK in front of the bonfire under the moonlight, and having everyone cheering for you was a great and enjoyable feeling for them. Missy, this basket of fish is for you. I'm going to continue fishing. Even Lu Wu was addicted to the taste of the spiritual fish, let alone the foodie Bailey. Lu Wu had a deep understanding of this. At this moment, he was observing the internal situation of the game with Bei Li while eating the spiritual fish that was thrown into the shop by a silly but cute player. At the same time that Sure caught the turtle, a lot of messages asking for the price appeared in the activity chat. The Wood Spirit Clan's friends were also shocked by Sure actions. He was actually willing to roast the extremely valuable spiritual fish. To them, it was simply a reckless waste of God's gift. Sure who was still unsatisfied, stood up and looked at the Missy from the Wood Spirit Clan. He pointed at the fish basket and said, "The event went very smoothly." When the bell that signaled the end of the event rang in the ears of the players, the rankings stopped changing. First place, Sang Yu tore off the mask of hypocrisy in reality. Although he looked very vulgar, there was nothing to be afraid of. Soon, the smell of the turtle's meat filled the air along the beach. However, since Sure insisted, they didn't say anything else. However, Sure ignored them and threw the turtle into the fish basket. Then he picked up the fish basket and walked toward the beach. In the game, the relationship between them was very complicated. They were comrades who fought side by side, enemies who killed each other when stealing kills, and friends who shared delicious food along the beach. This was the first time that many of them had spent the festival in the game. They enjoyed the atmosphere very much. Chapter 69. The next day, the players who had finished their break went online one after another to prepare for the second day of the event. Compared to the fishing competition, this event was more anticipated. Countless players wandered between the Mansion of the Dead and Liuli District, looking for a place with good feng shui and quietly waiting for the event to start. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the game prompt appeared in the players' anticipation. The New Year's Day treasure hunt officially begins. The duration is 6 hours. The game certificate will be refreshed every 10 minutes. At the same time as the game prompt appeared, Lu Wu had an idea. Graceful figures in red, traditional Chinese clothing with bamboo baskets appeared in the sky above the Mansion of the Dead and Liuli District. As the event officially began, they began to float in the sky. At the same time, they kept taking out the New Year's Day certificates that looked like red envelopes from the bamboo baskets and sprinkled them on the ground. Suddenly, the players surged and rushed toward the rain of red envelopes. The value of the New Year's Day certificates was obvious. It was equivalent to the game giving money to the players. Even one New Year's Day certificate could be exchanged for 10 potions. The rain of red envelopes lasted for a full minute in the two areas. It covered a wide area and made the players very excited. The most exciting thing in this event was the hidden character class. Anyone could get this opportunity, and everyone hoped that they would be the lucky one. At the border between Liuli District and the Mansion of the Dead. As the event began, Qi Ming, who was already prepared, put his staff on the ground. Black fog rolled on the ground, and dozens of Yin soldiers appeared. Then, Qi Ming controlled the Yin soldiers to line up with him as the center. They were separated by 3 meters and began to move forward together. Multitasking was very easy for Qi Ming, as long as there were red envelopes along the way. Qi Ming would control the Yin soldiers to pick them up. Along the way, his speed of picking up red envelopes was obviously much faster than the others. Qi Ming's method soon attracted the attention of others. A mage who passed by was shocked to see Qi Ming's amazing operation. Then, he summoned dozens of Yin soldiers and wanted to learn from Qi Ming's method to pick up the certificates. However, no matter how he manipulated the Yin soldiers, other than the command to attack and protect, they were not flexible at all. Damn it, I want to report him for cheating. The mage was indignant. He followed behind Qi Ming, took a picture of how he picked up the certificates, and sent it to the event chat. I want to report him for cheating. How did he do it? They both went through 9 years of compulsory education. Why are his Yin soldiers so excellent? Seeing Qi Ming's method of picking up red envelopes, many players suddenly lost their composure. Perhaps it's just as you've said. Perhaps his Yin soldiers have all been educated and are more outstanding than the rest. I watched the video and gave it a try. My Yin soldiers are like idiots. I can't control them. Multitasking, drawing a circle with your left hand and drawing a square with your right. Some people just have this talent. I can't compare. You're right. There have never been any cheats in this game. Didn't you see many script merchants being honest? Awesome. Game bye. I after bye and bye. God. I after another day another. 100-meter long carpet search. This brother is amazing. Look at the first place on the scoreboard. It should be him. Person cheating. Again. Bye and bye. Bye. Just as the players had said, Qi Ming had leaped to the top of the leaderboard in less than an hour with his powerful ability to multitask and kept pulling away from the second place of the game with stage. With bye world, bye after bye. Bye and bye. Bye after another. Bye after another. Seeing this scene, the wood spirits were dumbfounded once again. In their eyes, this race was indeed very special. Yesterday's fishing was still understandable, but today he was running all over the mountains and plains like a madman. What was going on? Brother, are they all fools? A little girl from the Wood Spirit clan, who looked about 7 or 8 years old, looked up at her brother and asked curiously. The man from the Wood Spirit clan rubbed his sister's little head. Don't talk nonsense. Respect the customs of other races. Oh, the little girl nodded. Then I'll go and play with them. The man's expression froze. Don't go and play with fools. The little girl was speechless. The treasure hunt event lasted for 6 hours. When the final bell rang, some players cheered excitedly, while others hung their heads in disappointment. The New Year's treasure hunt has officially ended. All players with vouchers, please go to the event messenger to redeem the reward. The ranking of the vouchers is as follows. First place, Qi Ming, 328 vouchers. Second place, Shueli, 133 vouchers. Third place, Qi Wenjiang, 102 vouchers. Fourth place, Lu Shun, 102 vouchers. Fifth place, Li Chu Xian, 101 vouchers. Relying on the powerful ability of multitasking, Qi Ming surpassed everyone with a result that was far ahead of everyone else. As the event ended, a large number of players began to flock to the event messenger in the Mansion of the Dead. It was time for Lu Wu to spend a lot of money. Just as everyone expected, Qi Ming redeemed the hidden character class, Ghost Beast, as soon as the redemption system opened. Congratulations to player Qi Ming for successfully redeeming the highest reward of this event. You have obtained the hidden character class, Ghost Beast. In the envious voice of the players, Qi Ming felt a sudden surge of power into his body. Rows of data appeared in front of his eyes. Ghost Beast, class background, the strongest ghost bred in the Ghost Mountains. After 10,000 years of cultivation, it formed a ghost beast spirit. It was once the strongest overlord of the Ghost Mountains. It later volunteered to serve the king of Baiki. It died in the Battle of the Abyss and was sent to the Spirit Summoning Palace to be worshipped by its descendants. Class abilities: Spirit Summoning, Ghost Beast Power, Destruction, Spirit Summoning. Summon all kinds of ghosts for one's own use. The number of ghosts summoned and the strength of the ghosts increase with the level. Ghost Beast Power. After use, the user will be enhanced by the Ghost Beast. Strength will be increased by 200%. All attacks will be imbued with the Ghost Beast Power. Last for 10 minutes. Cooldown time: for hours. Destruction activates the Ghost Beast Power in one's body to carry out a large-scale damage attack. Within 5 seconds after this skill is used, the player's body will explode. The damage will spread to a range of 100 meters. The strength of the damage will decrease from the caster to the outside. Seeing that he had finally obtained the inheritance, a smile appeared on Qi Ming's face. He had been training hard for so many years. For the first time, he felt that the inheritance could be obtained so easily. However, when he saw the third ability of the Ghost Beast inheritance, Qi Ming was stunned. Isn't this a suicide attack? It doesn't match my identity. Chapter 70. On the third day of New Year's Day, Lu Wu's day of replenishment had finally arrived. Just as he had hoped, many of the hesitant players steeled their hearts and replaced their equipment or purchased the items they needed. Lu Wu's soul coins were back up again. The New Year's Day event was a great time for the players, and the feedback was very positive. However, due to the players' desire for top-up, Lu Wu finally responded to the players' expectations in the forum and was ready to open the top-up channel. Update notice. This update will open the top-up channel. The top-up ratio is 1 renminbi, 1 dragon coin. All the dragon coins will be used to purchase gorgeous clothes after the fashion auction. Fashion auction. Every week, 3 sets of clothes will be auctioned in the form of dragon coins. Each set is limited to 1,000 sets. Invincible_loneliness. The smile on my face gradually froze. What the hell are dragon coins? Where are my soul coins? The _cutest_ye swear. Give me your address and prepare to die. R&D personnel. Crayon_Shinshan. The happiest thing is to see the tycoons' faces when they want something but can't get it. Laughing emoji. Assassin_Creed. I want soul coins. I don't care. I just want soul coins. Shueli_the_strongest. R&D. No matter how much you howl, I'm as immovable as a mountain. I can suppress everything with a flip of my hand. How dare you mortals challenge our GM? Do you see that, diving Tao Wu? Do you believe that I can crush it to death with a few keystrokes? Crayon_Shinshan replied to Shueli_the_strongest. Sure. Lu Wu understood the players' complaints about top-up, but he did not have so many soul coins for the players to spend. If he were to open the top-up channel, he suspected that his soul coins would be bought up by the players in less than 10 seconds. Lu Wu had seen the tycoons in the game, such as Invincible_loneliness, Yi Shuer, Lu Chai from the Demolition Officers, and so on. All of them were rich. Therefore, he would not sell the top-up channel of soul coins before he became rich. Moreover, soul coins were also very useful to Lu Wu. The construction of a game required soul coins. Of course, his expenditure was also to earn more soul coins and cultivate the players at the same time. At this moment, Lu Wu missed the battle between the players and Chana's army. The annihilation of Chana's army had earned him a lot of soul coins. Nurturing battles through battles was the best way for the players and Lu Wu to grow. Lu Wu had already set his sights on the areas around the Mansion of the Dead and was ready to issue another exploration mission. With the end of the New Year's event, the players once again embarked on the path of becoming stronger. However, compared to before, players now had more options. Ocean development, land expansion, dungeon treasure hunting, and so on. The game's variety and playability increased with each update. At this time, in the Cliffs of Desperation area, Guyu, Invincible Loneliness, and Sun Chi were preparing to climb the highest peak of this place. Guyu had fallen in love with the feeling of challenging nature during his last adventure in the Snow Mountain. He felt a sense of accomplishment after succeeding, so he chose to try the Cliffs of Desperation, which was even more dangerous. As for why they brought Sun Chi along, it was naturally because Sun Chi had the ability to recover his HP. If they encountered wild monsters, he would be a great support. Sun Chi was initially against Gu Yu's suggestion. They had not even finished the hardships of life, so why would they want to suffer? In Sun Chi's opinion, this was just a case of rich people looking for some suffering when they had nothing better to do. However, this firm attitude changed after Gu Yu threw a stack of cash at him. He immediately expressed his desire to go. In fact, he also liked to climb mountains. Thus, a man and a dog arrived at the cliffs of Desperation Mountain Range. This climb was different from the previous ones. There were a lot of monsters in the cliffs of Desperation Mountain Range, which was a big problem during the climb. However, every time Gu Yu was injured, Sun Chi would bitterly donate some blood to help Gu Yu recover. The two of them climbed for about 3 hours. When they looked up, the end of the cliff peak was still covered by clouds and mist. They could not see the end at all. Originally, the two of them wanted to continue climbing. At this moment, Sun Chi's nose suddenly twitched. He then said, "Boss, there's the aroma of wine here." Sun Chi's ability to speak was naturally freed by Lu Wu. This guy complained all day in the forum because he could not speak. Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry, so he asked Bailey to help him modify the settings so that he could speak normally. Upon hearing this, Gu Yu straightened his body and scanned his surroundings. "Follow me." Sun Chi's nose wrinkled slightly. Then, he ran toward a flat area around the mountain. Seeing this, Gu Yu followed him. After walking half a circle around the mountain, the two of them quickly stopped in their tracks. This was because they found a wooden house not far away from them. There was a faint light and shadow from the bonfire swaying inside the house. The man and the dog looked at each other and walked toward the wooden house together. The two of them first looked outside the wooden house for a while. After making sure that there was no danger, Gu Yu raised his hand and knocked on the wooden door. "Is anyone there?" However, there was no response from inside. This made Gu Yu a little curious. Just when he was about to push the door open, the wooden door creaked open. A white-haired old man with an unshaven beard stuck his head out. He squinted his eyes and asked, "What's the matter?" Can I ask you about the Cliffs of Desperation?" Gu Yu thought for a while and asked. At the same time, he was curious about why this old man settled here. "Ask away," the white-haired old man said calmly. "Aren't you going to invite me in?" Sun Chi's sudden voice shocked the white-haired old man. "What the F***CK? Can your dog speak? Could it be that it has been demonized?" Gu Yu, Sun Chi. Gu Yu calmly pressed down Sun Chi, who was about to jump up and bite him. He spoke again. "Old man, I'm very curious about why you live here. Also, how high is the Cliffs of Desperation? I want to climb to the top and see." "Climb to the top? You're so skinny, and you want to climb to the top of the dog? Forget it." The white-haired old man did not hold back at all. The white-haired old man's poisonous tongue almost made Gu Yu want to beat him up. If it was not for Sun Chi, who was pulling him down, he would have taught this white-haired old man a lesson. Just when Gu Yu was about to speak again, the white-haired old man turned sideways and opened the wooden door, indicating that the two of them could enter. This made the two of them a little surprised, but they still walked in. The furnishings inside the wooden house were simple. There was a wooden table and a bed. There were kerosene lamps placed around the wooden table and the house. There were many rusty ironware scattered on the ground, and the smell of alcohol filled the house. As there was only one wooden chair in the house, the white-haired old man gestured for the two of them to sit on the wooden bed. He then turned around and went to the cubicle and brought 2 glasses of fragrant fruit wine. After the two received the fruit wine, Gu Yu asked, "Why did you say that we can't climb to the top of the Cliffs of Desperation? Is there any danger?" Upon hearing this, the white-haired old man's expression suddenly became very serious. Gu Yu thought that the white-haired old man was going to tell him about the legend of the Cliffs of Desperation, so his expression gradually became serious. "What the F***CK? The way your dog drinks is really like a human." Gu Yu, he turned around and found that Sun Chi was already holding the fruit wine and drinking it in big gulps. His face was even blushing as if he was intoxicated. However, upon hearing the white-haired old man's words, Sun Chi's expression immediately became unfriendly. Once again, Gu Yu calmly pressed down Sun Chi, who was gritting his teeth and was about to jump up. "Can you give me some useful information?" Chapter 71. The white-haired old man glanced at Guyu and his companion with a strange expression. Why do you want to climb to the top of this cliff? Guyu wanted to say for fun, but he suddenly felt that it was inappropriate to say it to the natives in the game. He thought for a while and spoke again. We heard that there are treasures at the top of this cliff, so we want to try our luck. Just a man and a dog? Sun Chi quickly held down Guyu's clenched fist, signaling him not to be impulsive. Guyu felt that his temper was getting worse when faced with the white-haired old man's sharp tongue. Just when he was about to explode, the white-haired old man turned around and entered the compartment. Not long after, he came out with a sheepskin scroll. Under the curious gaze of Guyu and his companion, the white-haired old man spread the sheepskin scroll on the table. They immediately went forward to take a look. A towering mountain peak was drawn in the middle of the parchment. However, what made Guyu and Yi Mo feel strange was that the mountain peak was divided into several sections, and each section had a ferocious-looking demon drawn on it. Did you see anything? The white-haired old man stroked his beard and asked with a serious expression. Guyu nodded. If we go up the cliffs of desperation, each section is guarded by demons. It's very dangerous. The white-haired old man shook his head. These demons are all dead. How dangerous! Guyu was speechless. He clenched his fist again, while Sun Chi pulled Guyu back tightly, hinting him to restrain his impulsive desire. Then can you tell me why you want to show us this scroll? Guyu asked while clenching his teeth. At the same time, he was mentally prepared, afraid that the sharp-tongued old man would say, I'm just showing you for fun. I want you to see this line of words on the scroll. The white-haired old man said as he pointed at a line of small words at the bottom right of the scroll. Guyu and Sun Chi curiously moved their heads closer when they heard it. However, Guyu and Sun Chi had never seen this kind of words before, so they were a little confused. Fortunately, the artifact automatically detected and translated the words. The words began to distort in the scroll. I, Beiki, swear that my people will guard the cliffs of desperation, eliminate the source of evil, and guard the destiny of heaven. What does it mean? The man and the dog raised their heads in confusion. It's a long story. The white-haired old man looked up and sighed. Make it short. Guyu answered decisively. Do you know who I am? The white-bearded old man's expression became serious again. You are a very bad old man. However, Guyu and his grandson only slandered him in their hearts. They did not say it out loud and shook their heads at the same time. I'm the descendant of the king of Beiki, the white-bearded old man said proudly. After saying this, the white-bearded old man thought that Guyu and Sun Chi would be shocked. However, he realized that they were staring at him as if he was an idiot. What? You don't believe me? This time, Guyu and Sun Chi did not answer. Instead, they turned around and walked side by side towards the door. In the end, he was just an idiot. Stop. Seeing that he had failed, Whitebeard suddenly became anxious. What? The two of them turned around slowly and asked expressionlessly, Look at what this is. With that, the white-bearded man took out a ghostly seal from his pocket. Guyu and Sun Chi looked at each other and wanted to leave again. However, both of them turned around abruptly. Seal of the King of Beiki, ancient. The seal of the King of Beiki created by the first king of Beiki, the creator of the land of Beiki. It symbolizes the supreme power and glory of the land of Beiki. Expired. Hiss, hiss. Looking at the introduction of the seal of the King of Beiki, both of them were shocked. But why is it expired? Sun Chi was puzzled. Maybe it's too old and it's not working anymore. Guyu shook his head. Do you believe me now? The white-bearded old man said proudly. Both of them looked at each other and sat down on the bed again. They looked at the white-bearded old man and waited for his story. Seeing that they had sat down, the white-bearded old man sighed. It's a long story. Make it short, the two of them said in unison. The white-bearded old man rolled his eyes. My ancestor was the creator of the land of Beiki. He ruled the land of Beiki for hundreds of thousands of years. This cliffs of desperation is his burial place, and it's also the place that he guarded all his life. The demons that you saw on the picture scroll were his subordinates that guarded his tomb. They were also the first demonic god that guarded the land of Beiki after his death. What is this first demonic god? Is it powerful? Guyu asked curiously. This cliffs of desperation is a horn on the head of the demonic god. Don't you think it's powerful? The white-bearded old man seemed to be dissatisfied that Guyu interrupted his story. Hiss! Guyu and Sun Chi shivered when they heard that. The height of the cliffs of desperation was so high that it pierced through the sky. If this was just a horn on his head, then they couldn't imagine how huge the real body of the demonic god was. It could even be described as covering the sky and the sun. So, your ancestor defeated this demonic god and sealed him here. Then, he let your descendants guard this place? How is that possible? Even 10 of my ancestors couldn't defeat this demonic god. The white-bearded old man rolled his eyes. I don't know the specific reason why the demonic god was sealed. However, although the demonic god was guarded, it wasn't stable. Evil thoughts would often escape from it. My ancestor fought with a wisp of the demonic god's evil thoughts and used the last of his strength to kill the evil thoughts. However, his cultivation was greatly damaged, and he could only survive for 100 years before he immortalized on the peak of the cliffs of desperation. But what does this have to do with the difficulty of climbing the peak? Guyu asked curiously. It's not about the difficulty, but the fact that you can't climb the mountain. This time, the white-bearded old man's expression became very serious. Why? I'm afraid that you will be eroded by the demonic god's evil thoughts when you climb the peak. Then, you will be possessed and become a new clone of the demonic god. The demon in this picture scroll was sent by my ancestor to stop anyone from climbing the peak. Is it that mysterious? Guyu and Sun Chi looked at each other. In fact, the raging fire in their hearts was burning fiercely. I'm warning the two of you, don't ever climb the mountain. It's a small matter if your body is possessed. If you become a clone of the demonic god, you will bring disaster to the land of Baiki. In the face of the white-bearded old man's serious warning, Guyu and Sun Chi looked at each other again and said righteously, Don't worry, for the safety of the land of Baiki, we will never climb the mountain. Chapter 72. Hearing the warning from the descendant of the king of Baiki, Guyu and Sun Chi solemnly expressed that they would listen to his advice and never climb the mountain again for the safety of the land of Baiki. Half an hour after bidding farewell to the white-haired old man, Dog, hurry up. It's getting dark. Put in more effort and climb up before the online time is up. Okay, a man and a dog relied on their strengthened bodies, so climbing the mountain was much easier than it was in reality. Their figures constantly leaped towards the peak of the cliffs of desperation. However, the higher they climbed, the more they felt a force sweeping around them. It was as if a pair of evil eyes were staring at them in the dark. After 8 hours with only a short break in between, the two finally broke through the clouds and saw the peak of the cliffs of desperation. At this moment, Guyu's heart skipped a beat. He could not help but squat on the ground and retch. All kinds of negative emotions kept surging into his mind. He felt as if his body was out of control and his eyes turned red. Boss, are you okay? Sun Chi asked worriedly. At this moment, Guyu, whose eyes were red, suddenly reached out and grabbed Sun Chi's neck. His fingers gradually tightened. This scared Sun Chi so much that he subconsciously let out a woof. Boss, what's wrong with you? Sun Chi struggled to pry Guyu's arm away, but found that the rune ruby on Sun Chi's body lit up and the strength of his hand gradually increased. Just when Sun Chi was at a loss, Guyu suddenly let go of his hand and lay on the ground again. He opened his mouth and started panting in horror. Just now, an inexplicable force enveloped his body. His mind was instantly filled with all kinds of bloody and killing scenes. Under the shroud of all kinds of negative emotions, he felt as if his spirit was about to collapse. This feeling was too real. Even if he thought that it was just a game, it still made him scared. He looked up at the peak again and thought of the white-haired old man's warning. This time he was really scared. Boss, this place is a little strange. I feel like something is staring at us. You noticed it too? Guyu's expression was a little solemn. He thought it was his illusion, but he did not expect Sun Chi to feel it too. Then should we continue? Looking at the peak, the timid Sun Chi swallowed his saliva. What are you afraid of? At most, we will die once. Will we really die? Guyu glared at Sun Chi and said firmly. Sun Shi had no choice but to follow Gu Yu and continue to climb up the mountain. After another half an hour, a man and a dog finally appeared at the top of the mountain. Gu Yu and Sun Shi were stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. A rusty pagoda pillar stood in the middle of the mountain peak, and a pitch-black skeleton sat cross-legged beside it. Curious, the two of them walked over to the pillar pagoda and turned on the screenshot function. After taking a few pictures, they began to size up the pillar pagoda. Sun Shi, on the other hand, walked around the pillar twice. "What are you doing?" Gu Yu glared at him. Sun Shi realized something and put his leg down awkwardly. "I don't know. It seems to be an instinctive reaction." In order to alleviate the awkwardness, Sun Shi extended his claws and wanted to slap the pillar pagoda twice. However, with this touch, a black light suddenly appeared, and at the same time, a layer of green light appeared on the surface of Sun Shi's body. The moment the two rays of light collided, Sun Shi was sent flying and smashed into the ground. This shocked Gu Yu. He quickly rushed to Sun Shi's side and helped him up. "Dog, are you all right?" Sun Shi shook his head in confusion. "This pillar is very strange. The moment I touched it, a thought suddenly appeared in my mind. It seems to be telling me that it doesn't like me." Seeing that Sun Shi was fine, Gu Yu let out a sigh of relief. He stood up and walked to the side of the pillar again. Thinking about what Sun Shi said, Gu Yu thought for a while and reached out his hand. He wanted to try the feeling that Sun Shi was talking about. However, the moment his palm touched the pillar pagoda, he felt the negative emotion appear again and crazily burrow into his mind. At this moment, Gu Yu's eyes turned red again. A world of a raging sea of blood appeared in front of him. On this sea of blood, a thin figure curled up and floated along with the waves. It was unknown how long this lonely figure had been floating. Occasionally, it would open its eyes and look at the world curiously. However, most of the time, it was still in a deep sleep. Gu Yu did not know why, but he felt that time passed very quickly in this space. He did not know whether it was 100 years, 1,000 years, or 10,000 years. A ray of light pierced through the sky and appeared in this bloody world. With the appearance of this ray of light, the sea of blood stirred up huge waves. The whole world began to shake and collapse and shrink, pouring into the boy's body. The ray of light became brighter and brighter. In the end, this bloody world was completely absorbed by the boy, and the surroundings became empty. Finally, the boy was shrouded by the light and slowly opened his eyes. "Wah!" He cried for the first time since he came to this new world. "Why is it red?" A doubtful voice was heard. At this moment, Gu Yu's vision appeared in a huge palace. A few giant figures were surrounding an altar, looking at the crying boy on the altar in confusion. "Bloody. Disaster. Ominous. Let's abandon this child. His body is filled with thick, bloody energy since he was born. I'm afraid that he will bring misfortune to our tribe." A few priests in the tribe looked at the bloody boy and said to the heavily armored giant king with a serious expression, "No, he is my child. I will not abandon him no matter what." As he spoke, the giant king reached out and picked up the child from the altar. He used his hand to gently touch the blood child's face, and a smile appeared on his face. At this moment, the blood child's tears turned into a smile. Looking at the back of their tribe leader, the few priests let out a long sigh, but they could not do anything about it. Time passed again, and the blood child began to grow up. However, unlike the rest of the tribe, other children of the same age were already more than 3 meters tall, but he was still only a meter tall. This caused him to be discriminated against in the tribe, and he seemed out of place. However, the blood child did not feel sad. He still lived happily every day because he still had a father and a mother who loved him very much. One was the tribe leader, and the other was the tribe's new high priest. With the protection of his parents, he felt very blessed. At this moment, the scene in front of Gu Yu changed again. When the scene became clear again, the world in front of him had changed drastically. In the sky above the giant city, burning coffins cut through the sky and fell from the sky. The entire giant city was shrouded in a sea of fire. What was more terrifying was that ferocious zombies crawled out of the coffins that fell to the ground. Chapter 73. The war was on the verge of breaking out. Faced with the zombies' attacks, the giants fought back. However, the zombies were too powerful. Even with the strength of the entire tribe, the giants were still unable to resist. Under such a massacre, the casualties of the giants continued to increase. By now, Bloodsea had also grown to a height of 1.8 meters. Watching his tribesmen who had grown up with him follow their fathers into battle, the Bloodchild's heart was filled with torment. At this moment, he wished he could help his father. This was the first time he had ever desired power so much. The war lasted for half a day. The giants kept retreating. More than half of their tribesmen were dead or injured, but the number of zombies was still increasing. This plunged the entire tribe into despair. At this moment, a coffin that was 100 meters long and 30 meters wide fell from the sky. When it landed, the entire city of giants shook violently, as if there was an earthquake. A 100-meter-tall zombie covered in flames appeared as the coffin lid was opened. Hitorigami, a few priests of the giant tribe, exclaimed. When this figure appeared, the powerful zombies all knelt on the ground, as if they were welcoming the arrival of their king. Blood source. A hoarse sigh was heard. When Hitorigami opened his eyes, he locked his gaze on the Bloodchild who was being protected behind him. There was a hint of desire in his eyes. Leave it to me. Hitorigami spoke again as he looked at the giants before him. Roar! All the giants raised their heavy hammers and slammed them on the giant shields. Their faces were filled with determination. Even the priests who had once said that the Bloodchild would bring disaster now had a determined look on their faces. Since he had become a tribesman, he was one of them. Even if they had once looked down on him and looked down on him, the giants would never abandon their tribesmen just because of external forces. Seeing this, the Bloodchild's heart was filled with gratitude. This time, Hitorigami did not speak. His eyes flashed red, and suddenly, all the zombies roared and stood up, pouncing towards the giants. The difference in strength was completely unmatched. The giants could not withstand the ferocious attacks of the zombies. One by one, they fell. Seeing this, the Bloodchild's eyes were filled with intense hatred. At this moment, he hated himself for being so weak. He did not even have the strength to lift the tribe's weapons, let alone fight with his tribesmen. One by one, his tribesmen fell in front of him. When the figures of his parents were torn apart by the zombies, the Bloodchild completely broke down. Looking at the world that had been reduced to ruins, tears of blood flowed from the Bloodchild's eyes. Suddenly, Hitorigami appeared in front of the Bloodchild. He looked at the boy and smiled. As a blood source, you actually have feelings? What a joke. Why am I so weak? Why am I so weak? I can't accept this. The Bloodchild stared at the huge figure in front of him with a ferocious expression. Because you have feelings. That is the original sin of your weakness. Therefore, becoming my blood feed is your only choice. Looking at the Bloodchild, Hitorigami smiled. Hearing this, the Bloodchild's body shook. It was as if something was shattering, and a huge force suddenly appeared in his body. As Hitorigami watched in shock, the Bloodchild's body continued to rise. Pillars of blood appeared around the Bloodchild's body. In the blink of an eye, the Bloodchild's height was now the same as Hitorigami's. Sensing the problem, Hitorigami immediately stretched out his hand and slapped the Bloodchild. Boom! The ground shook violently as the Bloodchild was sent flying. However, the changes in the Bloodchild's body did not stop there. His body continued to grow in the air, and in the blink of an eye, he had turned into a humongous existence like a mountain. I can become stronger without feelings. I can become stronger without feelings. The Bloodchild mumbled to himself in the air. An unprecedented power reverberated in his body. The death of his parents and tribe had filled his heart with all sorts of negative emotions. It had also severed the last of his worries. The power of the Blood Sea was completely activated. At the same time, with the help of the giant's natural ability, his body continued to grow. Even Hitorigami was completely shocked by the scene in front of him. You are not the blood source. You are the source of the Blood Sea. Seeing that the Bloodchild's body had grown to the height of the sky, Hitorigami's heart was filled with fear. He realized that he was completely wrong. He had originally followed the aura of the blood source, but he did not expect to find the source of the blood sea. It was a power that even he could not control. Roar. The blood child, who had turned into a giant, roared into the sky. The clouds in the sky were dispersed by his roar, and a strong gust of wind swept across the ground. In the face of such a terrifying scene, Hitorigami completely lost the idea of seizing the blood source. He entered the coffin and then shot up into the sky. Roar. Seeing Hitorigami, the blood child let out another roar. His huge arms stretched across the sky and slammed into the coffin. Boom! The punch shook the space, and Hitorigami's coffin instantly shattered into pieces. His body was flung far away like a cannonball and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Roar! The blood child felt that there was nowhere to vent the energy in his body. He lifted his leg and stomped on the city of giants. Suddenly, the entire city, including the zombies, was stomped hundreds of meters underground. Kill. Without the shackles of emotions, the blood child went completely berserk. His mind was filled with all sorts of negative emotions. At this moment, he wanted to destroy the world. Disaster had arrived. The blood child continued to pursue Hitorigami's aura. Everywhere he passed became a place where his anger could be vented. Countless tribes were turned into dust under his power. He wanted to destroy the world. Seeing this, Guyu was stunned. This kind of power that could destroy the world shocked him. He had already guessed the identity of the blood child. He should be the so-called demonic god that the white-haired old man mentioned. At this moment, the scene changed again. The blood child, who had transformed into the demonic god, appeared in an unfamiliar place. He could feel Hitorigami's aura in this place, and he was about to start his destruction again. However, this time, everything was not as easy as before. This was because he met someone, a woman who was not even the size of an ant in his eyes. My name is Lee. Do you want to be friends with me? The woman looked at the demonic god and said with a smile. The demonic god did not speak. He roared and swung his hand down. The huge force caused the space around him to distort. However, this time, it was not as destructive as before. The fist stopped just before it hit the woman. The demonic god roared in dissatisfaction, but his body seemed to be squeezed by an invisible force. He could not move at all. Big guy, you're too dangerous. Have a good sleep. I'll let you out when you're cuter. When that time comes, we'll be friends. That's a promise. The woman smiled and raised her hand. The demonic god's huge body slowly rose from the ground. Then, the woman pressed her hand down. Amidst the demonic god's angry roar, the ground cracked, and his body continued to sink. Even the demonic god could not resist this kind of power. He struggled with all his might, but it was all in vain. His body slowly sank and was covered by the ground. Only a single horn on his head could be seen. The graceful, white-clothed woman chuckled, turned around, and left. As time passed, the sky-reaching horn was also covered by the soil and turned into a mountain. The legend of the demonic god was still passed on in this land. Chapter 74. Guyu was dumbfounded as he looked away from the ancient scene. Boss, are you all right? Why are you standing there like a fool? Sun Chi hugged Guyu's thigh and howled. Go away. Guyu kicked Sun Chi away, and his expression became very serious. The scene just now was like a dream, but he could clearly feel the evil intention of destroying the world in the demonic god's heart. From birth to destruction, the change in the demonic god's mentality made him feel the same. It was a strange feeling, as if he was once the demonic god. Looking at the pagoda pillar, it was obvious that it was placed here later, and the skeleton should be the first king of Baiki. Guyu was deep in thought. He did not know what was going on. Why did Sun Chi's touch rebound? But he had a different experience when he touched it. Do you crave power? A voice suddenly appeared in his mind. He was very familiar with the voice. Although it was much older, he could recognize the owner of the voice. It was the demonic god. Demonic god? Guyu said subconsciously. Do you crave power? The voice appeared again. I crave power, my foot. Speak human language. Guyu said unceremoniously. Although he knew that the demonic god's change was due to external interference, he was a collection of evil. Guyu thought that the demonic god was trying to trick him into doing bad things. After Guyu said this, the voice disappeared for a while and then appeared again. "Do me a favor, and I will give you infinite power. Do it," Guyu said angrily. Lu Wu and Bei Li looked solemn. They had witnessed everything that happened to Guyu, and they also saw a part of the demonic god's memory like Guyu. Suddenly, Lu Wu turned his head to Bei Li. Bei Li stood up from the bed like a startled deer. "I haven't asked yet," Lu Wu said angrily. Bei Li smiled awkwardly when she heard this. "Tell me, are you the woman in white who called herself Li?" Lu Wu suddenly stared at her, like a parent asking if his child had done his homework. "No," Bei Li answered decisively. Looking at Lu Wu's doubtful expression, Bei Li raised her right hand. "I swear it wasn't me, but we know each other." Lu Wu thought for a while and asked again, "You told me that you're only 300 years old, but the woman in white in the image must be hundreds of thousands or millions of years old. Can you tell me how you met her?" Bei Li's face was once again filled with awkwardness. She then fell into silence. "I'll give you 30 seconds to organize your words or make up a story." Bei Li frowned and fell into deep thought. 30 seconds later, Bei Li raised her head. She wanted to say something, but stopped herself. She thought about it for a while and then said with tears in her eyes, "No, I can't make it up." Lu Wu was speechless. "Then tell me the truth," Lu Wu said impatiently. "No, if I tell you now, your soul will shatter instantly. You won't be able to handle my secrets." Bei Li's face was filled with fear. So mysterious. Lu Wu was a little surprised. "All right, I'll find a way to improve your soul energy. I'll tell you when you're strong enough to know the secret," Bei Li said with determination. When Lu Wu heard this, he hesitated for half a second before nodding his head. Since he had chosen to believe in Bei Li, he would continue to do so. His life had become so colorful because of Bei Li, and they had gradually developed feelings for each other. He felt that Bei Li must have her own difficulties. However, the feeling of not knowing the secret made Lu Wu very uncomfortable. Oh yeah, this demonic god is so powerful. Will he hurt Guyu's soul? Although Bei Li had told him about the power of the artifact, Lu Wu was still worried. Impossible. The demonic god's strength is only at the level of an ordinary deity. Although there aren't many powerhouses like this in the underworld, they aren't rare either. Compared to the power of the sixth Tao of reincarnation, it's still too weak. You don't have to worry at all. Lu Wu nodded after hearing that. Oh yeah, this demonic god came after Hitorigami. Where is he? Bei Li smiled mysteriously. The old corpse in the burial ground, the most mysterious powerhouse of Beiki. Help me kill Hitorigami. I'll give you great power. The demonic god's voice appeared in Guyu's mind again. Hitorigami? Where is he? Guyu had a deep impression of Hitorigami. He had a body that was 100 meters tall and had a strong army of zombies. Although he was punched away by the demonic god, he was still alive. He's here. As soon as the demonic god finished speaking, an image appeared in Guyu's mind. There were corpses all over the ground and countless white bones piled up into mountains. There were even huge dragon skeletons standing upright. The place looked desolate and terrifying. He's hiding here. Help me kill him. I'll give you great power. The demonic god's voice appeared again. Guyu's face showed a conflicted expression. To be honest, he was very unhappy with Hitorigami. If it wasn't for him, the demonic god would still be the blood child of the giant clan, living his days innocently and carefreely. However, he knew how powerful Hitorigami was. With his strength, even if hundreds of thousands of players attacked him together, they would still be no match for him. I can't defeat him, Guyu said honestly. At this moment, a pair of evil eyes suddenly opened deep underground at the foot of the mountain. Magma and flames surged within the pupils, making it look like a burning hell. At the same time, an evil force surged out of the ground and reached the peak of the mountain through the horn. The white-haired old man, who was drinking in the wooden house, opened his eyes abruptly. His face was filled with shock, but he quickly shook his head and picked up the wine pot to drink on the bed. I hope you'll stop doing evil after you fulfilled your obsession. I won't stop you this time. At the peak of the mountain, a thick black fog formed, and a pair of crimson eyes, flickered with scarlet light, emerged from the black fog. You can't do it, but I can. As soon as the voice appeared, the black fog surged into Gu Yu's body. Lu Wu's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. Arg! Gu Yu wailed in agony as countless negative emotions flooded his mind again. A moment later, Arg! The demonic god was speechless. Why can't I take it? Why is your soul permanently fixed in your body? Why? I don't believe it. The black fog surged in Gu Yu's body again and continuously washed over his body. Arg! Gu Yu was still wailing. After a moment, the demonic god was completely dumbfounded. Arg! My head is going to explode. Stop wailing. The demonic god shouted angrily. At the same time, the black fog surged out of Gu Yu's body and the red eyes appeared again. Permanently fixed soul? Which deity are you descended from? I'm your father. I was thinking of ways to avenge you, but now we're not done yet. Do you really want to take over my body? Gu Yu hugged his throbbing head and said angrily. Chapter 75. In the face of Gu Yu, who could not be possessed, the evil eyes turned to look at Sun Qi, who was shivering at the side. This scared Sun Qi so much that he subconsciously barked again. However, the demonic god only took a quick glance at Gu Yu before shifting his gaze back to Gu Yu. I'm being despised. Bah, you have no taste. At this moment, Sun Qi was in a dilemma. Lend me your body. I'll return it to you after I've killed Hitorigami. At the same time, I'll grant you supreme power. The evil eyes stared at Gu Yu, and the voice directly appeared in Gu Yu's mind. Borrow my ass. I'm not lending it to you, Gu Yu said angrily. However, at this moment, the game notification sounded. Ancient Vengeance. Opportunity mission allow the demonic god to control your body for 3 hours. Once the time is up, you will receive a gift of power from the demonic god. Can I really? Bailey looked at Lu Wu, seemingly touched. All right, since you said that you owe the demonic god a favor, I'll agree to it. Lu Wu smiled. Yes, but don't you worry. I only need 3 hours. After 3 hours, the artifact will separate the demonic god's evil thoughts. Gu Yu will definitely not be hurt, Bailey said confidently. Lu Wu nodded in agreement. He trusted Bei Li's decision. When a mission appeared, a floating contract map appeared in the mind of the demonic god who was buried deep underground. I swear on the body of the demonic god that under the witness of the 6 paths of reincarnation, I will borrow Gu Yu's body for 3 hours. After the time is up, I will bestow the host with power. One side had a mission, and the other side had a supreme samsara contract. Both sides were stunned. Were they really the descendants of God? The demonic god had now confirmed Gu Yu's identity. On the other hand, Gu Yu's initially firm attitude softened after he saw the mission, especially since it was a chance mission. In other words, if he missed it, there would be no more. After struggling for a few seconds, Gu Yu raised his head awkwardly. Demonic god, should we discuss this further? The demonic god said, say no more. I agree to your reincarnation contract. I only want 3 hours. Gu Yu was speechless. After that, the demonic god used his evil thoughts to leave a mark on the reincarnation contract, and Gu Yu chose to accept the quest. Release your body. The demonic god's voice appeared in Gu Yu's mind once again. At the same time, the black fog surged into his body. Lu Wu, who was already prepared, had also granted access to Gu Yu's body. Gu Yu instantly felt that his body was out of control. Although he could still perceive the outside world, he could no longer carry out any control. However, what happened next shocked Gu Yu. Obtain the demonic god's power, all attributes increased by 1,000 points. Obtain the demonic god's blood source. All attributes increased by 3,000 points. Obtain the demonic god's negative energy. Obtain immunity to negative emotions. Demonic god's godly body enhancement. Physical resistance increased by 60%. Obtain the demonic god giant tribe's talent boost. All attributes increased by 300. Receive the blessing of the ancient heart. Your HP has been strengthened by 20 times. Acquired evil god's blessing. Dark energy increased by 300%. You have been appointed by the great Emperor of Feng. Do all attributes increased by 5,000 points. Obtain the title of Great Deity of Yadu. All attributes increased by 5,000 points. You have been appointed by the great Emperor of the East Mountain. All attributes increased by 5,000 points. Obtain the demonic god's ultimate esoteric skill, Blood Sea Monstrous. Comprehended all blood control abilities. Obtain the Underworld Deity List. Bestowed with the gift of the Underworld. Obtained eternal life. A series of notifications rang out, leaving Gu Yu completely dumbfounded. As the notifications continued to ring out, he could feel that his body was filled with an infinite amount of power. Fortunately, this power was not controlled by him. Instead, it was controlled by the demonic god's evil thoughts. Otherwise, Gu Yu's body would have exploded instantly. He slowly stood up from the ground. A pair of burning black wings spread out from his back. Crimson flames gushed out from Gu Yu's eyes. At this moment, Gu Yu had a feeling that he could squash him to death with just one hand. The power was so terrifying that it made Gu Yu's soul tremble. I will keep my promise. I will return your body to you after I'm done with it, descendant of the gods. Finally, Gu Yu's face revealed a sinister smile. He slowly squatted down and leaped into the air. The mountain peak suddenly collapsed amidst the tremors. Bring him along, Gu Yu said decisively to the demonic god as he looked at Sun Qi, who was tumbling in the air. The demonic god looked back at Sun Qi and extended his right hand. A cloud of black mist emerged and caught the falling Sun Qi, hanging him behind his back. Then the demonic god flapped his wings, and the world in front of him became blurry. Everything around him turned into a blurry white light. When their vision became clear again, Gu Yu and Sun Qi found themselves on a land littered with corpses. At this moment, Sun Qi, who was still in a daze, suddenly thought of something. He quickly opened the function panel, selected the live broadcast button, and clicked on it. Oh no, my boss has become the great demonic god. He's going to bring disaster to the land of Beiki. What should I do? Looking at the land of corpses, the demonic god's body suddenly fell and crashed into the ground like a meteor. Countless skeletons that were born in the burial ground and the players who were training there raised their heads subconsciously. They were shocked to see a fireball falling from the sky and smashing into the ground. A blinding light appeared from the point of impact. Boom! With the point of impact as the epicenter, the corpses and skeletons within a radius of a few miles were turned into dust by the huge shockwave. A huge crater with a diameter of a few hundred meters appeared in the center of the area. Everything within the range of the attack was destroyed by the demonic god's violent power. Hitorigami, the demonic god, roared angrily. He raised his right fist and punched the ground again. Boom! The earth trembled under his fist. At this moment, many players had appeared in Sun Qi's live broadcast channel. I saw this as soon as I came in. What's going on? Shocked emoji. Who is this guy? Why is he so strong? Is he a super scion? A comet has hit the Earth. Damn, who is this guy who's on fire? Can someone explain? Where's the streamer? Come out and explain what happened. Does this guy have a grudge against the Earth? Why is he smashing the ground? Isn't the streamer a dog? No wonder he looks so familiar. Laughing emoji, little white dog, come out and explain. What's going on in your live broadcast? Be specific. Sun Qi. Dear viewers, you might not believe me, but this guy is my boss, the leader of the Myth Guild, Invincible Loneliness. He's now possessed by the demonic god and is broadcasting the end of the world. As for why he keeps smashing the ground, I've analyzed it. Maybe he wants to punch through the ground to warm up. Chapter 76. Soon, Sun Qi's livestream was synchronized to the forum by enthusiastic players, and a large number of players flooded into the livestream. Seeing Gu Yu in his demonic god form, all the players were shocked. They could not imagine that a player could possess such power. Hitorigami, the demonic god, roared. He raised his right hand, and black lines appeared on his palm. They danced around his palm and expanded continuously. Come out! The demonic god clenched his fist, grasped the light ball formed by the black lines, and smashed it down. Boom! The ground collapsed, and gravel flew everywhere. The ground rose and fell like floating plates. The entire burial ground was enveloped by the demonic god's aura. All the skeletal creatures lost their bloodlust, and they trembled in fear as they cowered in place. A violent airflow swept through the surroundings, sending everything into the air. It was as if the burial ground was welcoming the end of the world. In the comments, F*CK me. This is not the invincible loneliness that I know. This is too scary. How much money did he spend to get the game company to give him a personal hack? Is he even human? This power, is it really something that a player can control? I'm so excited. The ground collapsed under his attack. Is he really the demonic god? I thought the little white dog was joking. Is the new expansion pack coming? The demonic god's invasion? This is too scary. Invincible Loneliness can probably fight with Tao Wu now. I guess Invincible Loneliness has triggered some hidden quest and is possessed by the demonic god. Can we players fight against such power? I'm scared. As the ground collapsed, a blood-red coffin slowly rose from the cracks in the ground. Looking at the blood coffin, the demonic god's eyes flashed red. He lifted his right leg and leaned forward. Then, his figure suddenly disappeared, and a huge pit appeared where he originally stood. Ha ha ha! Hitorigami! The demonic god's face revealed a sinister smile. His figure appeared in the air, and he swung his fist downward. A huge fist condensed from chi and blood formed in the air. As the demonic god twisted his body, he swung his fist downward and hit the blood coffin. Boom! This strike landed on the blood coffin, and blood-colored light shot out in all directions. The entire world was dyed red, as if it was an Azura hell. Under the impact of the violent energy, the blood coffin emitted cracking sounds. It didn't even last for a moment before it exploded with a loud bang, revealing the gigantic body of Hitorigami that had red hair and red pupils, and its entire body was shriveled. Boom! The blood-red light became more and more dazzling as it continuously eroded Hitorigami's body. At this moment, Hitorigami suddenly opened his eyes. He opened his mouth and inhaled. The blood-red radiance in the outside world began to distort under the tremendous suction force. Meanwhile, a whirlpool gradually formed in Hitorigami's mouth. The suction force increased once again, and all the blood was sucked into his mouth. Hitorigami, who had just woken up, turned his head slowly and looked at Guyu, who was possessed by the demonic god. He had a complicated look on his face. He did not expect to be found by Guyu in the end. You've become stronger again. A mere strand of evil intent possesses such power, Hitorigami said slowly. His hoarse voice spread throughout the world. You told me that only ruthlessness can make me truly strong. I have to thank you for that. The demonic god's eyes were filled with murderous intent. In a flash, he suddenly appeared beside Hitorigami and punched him in the face. Against the demonic god, Hitorigami did not dare to be arrogant. He resolutely raised his fist to meet the demonic god's attack. When the two fists collided, a tremendous amount of energy burst forth. The blinding light, along with the violent airflow, spread to both sides, blowing away the dark clouds in the sky. You want to kill me with just a strand of evil intent? How arrogant! Since he had already been found, Hitorigami's wild nature was triggered. His long red hair danced even though there was no wind. Similarly, blood-red airflow gushed out of his body and filled his entire body. Then, with him as the center, the violent blood-red airflow radiated in all directions, forming blood-red ripples on the ground. Roar! Following Hitorigami's roar, the blood-red airflow surged into his right fist. He pressed it forward forcefully and sent the demonic god flying. This punch was extremely domineering. The ground was plowed by Hitorigami's violent blood chi, forming a bottomless trench that was hundreds of meters long. Although he had defeated the demonic god, Hitorigami still looked solemn. He clearly knew that the demonic god was a god of the underworld recognized by the 6 paths of reincarnation. He would not be destroyed so easily, even if it was just a strand of evil intent. Great demonic god of the underworld, An evil roar that sounded like it came from the 9 serenities of hell came from the trench. Then, a giant blood-red hand broke through the ground and emerged from the trench. Boom! 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 The ground collapsed again. A giant figure broke through the encirclement of the earth and climbed out. Seeing this 100-meter-tall giant figure formed by flowing blood-red energy, Hitarigame's pupils shrank. It's not over yet. The demonic god, who was in the state of the great demonic god of the underworld, slowly straightened his body and looked at Hitarigame from afar. The two figures stared at each other for a moment. Then, they disappeared at the same time and collided again in the middle. As their fists collided, a tremendous amount of energy radiated in all directions from the point of their collision. The ground, which could not withstand the impact, began to collapse continuously. Meanwhile, Sun Chi, who was floating in the sky on the black clouds, was completely stunned by the scene before him. Just like Sun Chi, the players outside the arena were also shocked by this unimaginable power. That if the evil god really invades, what should we do? I reckon that we'll die again and again. We'll be killed in seconds, even if we do it a few hundred times. What a terrifying power. It's beyond the limits of my knowledge. I'm scared. When the gods fight, the mortals tremble in fear. It's really a fight between two gods. Luckily, I didn't go to the burial grounds with my friends to kill the bone spirits to level up. Otherwise, we would have been torn to shreds by the power of the fight between the two gods. Covering face, it's too scary. Please don't let the evil god invade. Hurry up and put a post at the top. Ask the developers for help. If it really comes, rune warriors, cursed apostles, and hidden professions will all be killed in seconds. Covering face, the battle was still ongoing. At this moment, the two sides were evenly matched and fell into a stalemate. 9-turbid zombie snake. The two fists collided again. At this time, a blood-red light flashed in Hitarigame's eyes. Suddenly, 9 giant blood-red snakes appear behind him. 8-armed Azura. At this time, the demonic god also let out a low roar. 6 arms extended from his back. Boom, boom, boom. The battle gradually intensified. The 9-turbid zombie snake and the demonic god's 6 arms collided wildly. The ground began to sink again. The entire burial grounds was destroyed by the violent power. Magma gushed out from the cracks in the ground, forming pillars of magma around the battlefield. In the comments, "Oh my god, if they continue to fight like this, the burial grounds will be destroyed. Put your palms together and pray that they don't change the battlefield. Please don't come to the mansion of the dead. Oh, rice tofu." I want to ask, who is the one fighting the evil god? How can he be so strong? He's not at a disadvantage at all. I guess he's also a god. I heard the evil god call him Hitarigame. This seems to be our ancient legendary zombie ancestor. Mother Asterisk, this is so exciting. If I practice this account for 20 years, can I have such power? Replying to the comment above, anything is possible. This game has a lot of freedom. If you have a fortuitous encounter, maybe you can become this strong in a year. Look at Invincible Loneliness. Yesterday, he said in the group that he would buy soul coins to exchange for purple equipment. Today, he has become an evil god. What's the use of purple equipment? Chapter 77. The news of the fight between the deities spread like wildfire in the game. More and more players swarmed into the live streaming channel. The number of viewers had reached a staggering 450,000. Most of the players were watching the live streaming channel. The comment section was filled with comments about how terrifying it was. All the players were shocked by the spectacular battle scene. Not only the players, but all the powerhouses in the land of Baki were also shocked by the demonic god's aura. In the illusory realm, a white crane trembled. It turned its head to the northwest in fear and murmured, "The demonic god's aura." The aura of the demonic god. Has he come out? In the evil nightmare city, the 3,000 evil Een soldiers who were sleeping deep in the palace suddenly opened their eyes. Their pupils shone with a green light. In the Ascension Zone, the Hydra Ghost King who was devouring a huge spear pig suddenly stopped. His body started trembling uncontrollably. In the void ocean, 30,000 meters under the sea, Taowu, who was sleeping, suddenly opened his huge eyes. He raised his head and spat out a string of bubbles. He looked very excited. The barren grassland, the Arctic abyss, the North Rocks, all the powerhouses were startled by the demonic god's aura. They looked up at the burial ground and fell into deep thought. At the cliffs of desperation, the white-haired old man pushed open the door and faced the burial ground. His murky eyes gradually regained their clarity. I hope that you can get rid of your evil and negative emotions after your revenge. Become a real deity. Only then will I obey her orders and let you out. The battle between the demonic god and Hitorigami continued. As the battle reached its climax, both sides displayed various large-scale destructive abilities. The power that could destroy the world shocked the players. At this moment, the demonic god was holding a blood-red axe in each of his 8 arms. 2 of the 9 blood snakes on Hitorigami's back had been beheaded. Faced with such a difficult and almost unkillable demonic god, the evil in Hitorigami's eyes became more and more intense. He stretched out his hands and made a few godly seals. A circle of blood-red formation appeared behind his head and expanded continuously. In the blink of an eye, it covered his entire body. Blood World. Following Hitorigami's roar, the blood-red formation suddenly floated in the air and expanded continuously. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire sky. Sharp pillars of blood emerged from the formation and shot down densely toward the demonic god. Roar! The demonic god raised his 8 blood-red arms, raised his head, and roared at the sky. Then his arms began to dance. As more and more pillars of blood rained down from the sky, the demonic god's waving arms turned into a series of mirages as he frantically blocked the attacks from the sky. Great evil seal, red. The demonic god raised his right foot and stomped on the ground as the blood pillars grew denser and denser. A single horn slowly emerged from the demonic god's forehead, and the crimson inferno in his eyes turned into burning hellfire. The tip of the horn slowly formed a rapidly churning purple energy ball. Buzz, buzz, the roar of energy could be heard as the purple ball of light grew larger and larger. The moment it was completely formed, the demonic god suddenly stopped waving his arms and pointed his horn at the blood-colored formation diagram in the sky. Roar! A pillar of purple light soared into the sky and collided with the blood-colored formation diagram in the sky. The sky was instantly shrouded in dazzling light, and circles of energy ripples frantically spread in all directions. Evil god, don't you dare! Hitorigami looked up at the sky, and the power of his chi and blood shot up into the sky, continuously flowing into the formation diagram to provide energy for it. At this moment, the demonic god's pupils were already covered by a layer of purple energy. He slowly opened his mouth, and purple energy once again brewed in his mouth. Roar! Another pillar of light shot out from the demonic god's mouth and crashed into the sky. The moment the 2 purple energies merged, an unparalleled power burst forth. Crack! The blood-colored formation diagram in the sky began to crack like a spider's web, and the cracks continued to spread. Pieces of blood-colored fragments fell from the sky, turning into spots of blood-colored light that sprinkled down. Hitorigami's blood-colored formation diagram had completely collapsed. It's over. The demonic god raised his head and looked at Hitorigami, who had fallen into a state of panic. Great evil dark body, calamity. As the demonic god's voice fell, a purple aura floated over from the cliffs of desperation in the east and entered the demonic god's body. Boom, boom, boom. The earth began to tremble uncontrollably, and the demonic god's skin turned from red to purple. Scales engraved with mysterious symbols grew on his body, and his body expanded at an insane speed. In the blink of an eye, he had surpassed the god of the underworld and turned into an existence as large as a mountain. Upon witnessing this scene, Hitorigami's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He had never imagined that a mere wisp of the demonic god's evil thoughts would possess such terrifying power. Even though he had used all his strength, he was still no match for the demonic god. Offstage, Oh my God. He was so shocked by the power that he became autistic. We can't provoke the Myth Guild in the future. Their boss has become an evil god. Facepalm, facepalm, it's so exciting. It makes my blood boil and I burst one of my balls on the spot. Don't ask why, it just burns. I've already made up my mind. I want to have such power too. If 1 year isn't enough, then I'll do it in 2 years. If it's not enough, then I'll do it for the rest of my life. I want to experience this godlike power. The person above feels the same way. I'm also determined to become a god. The winner will be decided soon. Hitorigami looks like he's going to lose. Soon, we'll be welcoming the new expansion pack, the invasion of the demonic god. Everyone, please think of a solution. Don't be afraid. I've thought of a good idea. All we have to do is lure Tao Wu and the demonic god together and watch them fight. The person above is a retard. Appraisal complete. Xiao Air, who said that Tao Wu and the demonic god are fighting. Can you tell me how you're going to lure them? How are you going to make them fight each other? Laughing emoji. Hitorigami's eyes were filled with fear as he faced the demonic god who had been strengthened once again. He had already realized that even the demonic god's evil thoughts were not something that he could withstand. A god was a god after all. Even if he was sealed, part of his power was still as unsurmountable as Mount Tai. At this moment, the giant hand slowly slammed down, and a huge wind pressure pressed down from the sky. Hitorigami raised his head and roared angrily. He knew that he was going to die here. Chapter 78. Just as the giant hand was about to hit Hitorigami, the shadow of a golden cauldron emerged from the demonic god's body. Dong! As the cauldron shook gently, the sound of the cauldron reverberated throughout heaven and earth. Bang! Something unexpected happened. With the sound of the cauldron, the newly formed great demonic red body collapsed, and the demonic god fell from the sky with a pale face. The great emperor of Dongyu. Hearing the cauldron, Hitorigami was terrified. If he was afraid of the demonic god, then he was terrified of the great emperor of Dongyu, who was in charge of life and death in the underworld. Boom! The demonic god's body fell to the ground. Why did you stop me? Why? The demonic god crawled up from the ground. The purple flames in his eyes surged wildly as he stared at the cauldron in confusion. She stopped me, and you stopped me too. Why? The negative emotions in the demonic god's heart increased, and the power in his body increased again. Looking at Hitorigami, the demonic god roared again with a ferocious face. Great demonic seal, red. As the power in his body increased, his form began to change again. Dong! The bell rang again, and the demonic god's great demonic red body collapsed. Roar! The demonic god roared angrily as he stared at the cauldron. This time, the demonic god no longer attacked Hitorigami. Instead, he swung his fist at the golden cauldron. Dong! The cauldron rang again. The demonic god was bound to the ground by an invisible force. He roared and struggled. Lu Wu, who was also watching the battle, was stunned. He then looked at Bailey. Who is the great emperor of Dongyu? Hitorigami seems to be afraid of him. Why did such a powerful demonic god lose his ability to fight after hearing the bell? This time, Bailey looked very serious. He is one of the strongest gods in the underworld who is in charge of life and death. He is on the same level as the Emperor of Yudu and the Emperor of Feng do moreover. The three of them are the true gods in charge of the underworld. Lu Wu was shocked to hear this. He did not expect there to be so many powerful gods in the underworld. Wu, the netherworld is boundless, and it is divided into east and west. The land is vast and boundless. Even gods like the three great emperors are only the rulers of the eastern netherworld. Don't be too surprised. Take it one step at a time, and I believe that you will also reach such heights one day. Lu Wu nodded at Bei Li's encouragement, but he asked curiously, but what does this demonic god have to do with great Emperor Dongyu? I'm not too sure about the details, but I think it has something to do with the demonic god's previous life. In that life, it was probably the great emperor of the Dongyu who made him a god. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the great emperor of the Dong Yu's mark left in his body. As for why the great emperor of Dongyu stopped the demonic god from taking revenge, I don't understand either. Bailey shook her head in confusion. Luwu nodded, not fully understanding. He then shifted his gaze back to the battlefield. Upon witnessing this scene, Hitorigami, who was initially terrified, revealed an expression of surprise. He did not understand why the Supreme Great Emperor would stop the demonic god. Of course, he didn't think that the Great Emperor valued him. He knew that he was no different from an ant in the Great Emperor's eyes. However, he had to seize this opportunity to turn the tide. Hitorigami then disappeared from where he stood and reappeared behind the demonic god. The remaining 7 blood snakes opened their mouths at the same time and punched at the demonic god along with Hitorigami's fist. Boom! The snakeheads tore at the demonic god's body at the same time, tearing off several pieces of bloody flesh. Hitorigami, who had gathered all of his strength, punched through the demonic god's chest and came out from the front, leaving behind a bloody mist. Roar! Hitorigami opened his mouth and revealed his sharp fangs. He then bit the demonic god's neck from behind. Suddenly, the bloody color on the demonic god of the underworld's body faded at a speed visible to the naked eye. Meanwhile, the wounds on Hitorigami's body started to heal under the replenishment of the bloody energy. Feeling the abundant blood energy entering his body, Hitorigami's eyes lit up with excitement. He did not expect that the wounds that had not healed for so many years would start to heal slowly. Hitorigami then commanded the 7 blood snakes to pounce at the demonic god again, entangling him on the spot. This time, Hitorigami wanted to devour the demonic god's evil thoughts and use them as nutrients to heal his body. Looking at the demonic god who was getting weaker and weaker, the bloodthirst in Hitorigami's eyes intensified. Just when Hitorigami thought that the demonic god was about to be devoured by him, the giant golden cauldron suddenly dissipated and turned into specks of starlight that flowed back into the demonic god's body. The giant cauldron's restraints disappeared. At this moment, Hitorigami felt a surge of energy gushing out from the demonic god's body again. Faced with the demonic god's struggle, Hitorigami used all his strength to trap him on the spot because this was his only chance. In the comments, this is a shocking turn of events. The demonic god is being restrained by an external force. It seems like Hitorigami is going to win this time. Hitorigami has an unfair advantage. Trash. Useless. Seeking answers. What is that giant cauldron? Is it so powerful? Is it an artifact? Can we obtain it? To reply to the person above, you have too many questions. I've finally seen an artifact. This giant cauldron is mine. An artifact must belong to the fated one. I've calculated with my fingers. I'm fated with it. Previously, I felt that the power of our Beiki army was inflated. After watching this battle, I feel that we still need to develop our strength. There are too many powerful bosses. It's scary. What's there to be afraid of? Sooner or later, we will be able to slay the gods. Long live the Beiki army. Our Beiki army is fearless and unstoppable. As the giant cauldron disappeared, the power within the demonic god's body was restored once again. Feeling his restrained body, he roared angrily. A scarlet head grew out of his shoulder and bit Hitorigami's neck as he twisted his body. Blood-colored energy was extracted from Hitorigami's body through the bite of the second head and surged into the demonic god's body. Seeing this, Hitorigami's eyes flashed with a bloody light. He activated his strength and accelerated his devouring of the demonic god. Both sides' powers erupted at the same time, and they devoured each other. The situation was in a stalemate. In the comments, it was quite intense just now, but now it seems a little ambiguous, devouring each other. This is indeed ambiguous. Who do you support to win? To reply to the person above, let's just die together. None of the Beiki army can take it, facepalm. I agree. The final outcome is mutual destruction. Everyone will be happy. I support the invincible, lonely transformation evil god. At least he's more handsome than Hitorigami. Stupid person above, can being handsome be eaten? It's obvious that Hitorigami is more handsome, especially that long blood-colored hair. He's so handsome. The audience watching the live broadcast saw this scene and gradually changed the direction of their discussion.